Hey, Audio Road listener, what is your profit per mile? How about your cost per mile? Or even your bottom line? Stop driving blind and know your numbers. Profit Gauges is absolutely simple bookkeeping specifically for owner-operators. Have instant access to business and tax reports that will help you increase your profits and keep your money in your pocket where it belongs. Sign up for Profit Gauges today and take advantage of our 30-day free trial. Know your numbers and master the journey. Visit our website at letstruck.com or call our Tribe Care Team at 855-800-FUEL. That's 855-800-3835.
Your money, your taxes, your truck, and your road to success in the trucking industry. This is Trucking Business and Beyond, the show that puts the money where it belongs, back in your pocket.
Good morning, you beautiful bunch of fuckers, and welcome to my world. I'm your host, Kevin Rutherford. It is Monday, October 21st. We are here live. We've got Brent Hutto here with me. We'll talk about what's going on with rates and lanes in the industry, and we'll cover just about anything we feel like talking about today. Same goes for you. Phone lines are open. Jump in and join us. It is a free-for-all. 855-950-3835. Brent, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Rutherford.
All right,
tell you what, it's good to be.
We're going to have a problem.
Can
today.
you hear me?
Yeah, we're going to have a problem today.
Uh-oh, what do we do?
I've got a fly in the studio.
You don't like me calling you Mr. Rutherford?
I've got a fly in the studio. We only get flies for about 3 weeks out of the whole year. And it's right now in the fall. But when we get them, they're really annoying. And this one's bugging me already. So.
Oh, no way.
I know. Yeah.
I thought the Pacific Northwest was always perfect.
Almost.
And you guys didn't have anything that bugged you.
They had to give us flies for a couple weeks just so we could remember what it was like, I think.
We get lots of flies in Alabama, but no, I was saying I'm happy to be home. I'm happy to have a couple days at the house. I'm going out to Dallas on Wednesday to go to the Broker Carrier Summit, which is a really fun event, where there's a lot of small carriers and small brokers in the industry. And so happy to be at that, but happy to be home, man. It feels good to have a few days at the house, and I feel like I'm resetting my perspective here.
There you go. Well, that answers my first question, because I was going to ask where you were. I think we should start a campaign, like, the whole "Where's Waldo" thing. Like, where's Brent? Yeah,
you talked about that. I need to do that. I just sent you by travel. Well, That's right. It's been fun. I tell you what, though, Kevin, it's been fun. This will be my 7th week of being out in the industry. It's been fun because, it's one thing to sit and kind of watch what's going on in the marketplace. It's another thing to go out and watch the actual people that move freight, that are the transportation providers in the industry, and kind of how they feel. And I'll tell you, just overall, there's always concerns in trucking because it's trucking, but overall, trucking feels like it's collective. It's kind of taken that deep breath again, where it's feeling like, okay, well, things are going to start to. We're kind of done with our challenging part of the market, which has been really long, and we're going to kind of come out into 2025 with a little bit more strength. Not tremendous, but like predictable, where it's like, okay, I kind of know what's going to happen. So it's kind of been neat to see that in every place I've gone to. Last week, I saw the big fleets, I saw the brokers, I saw all these kinds of people last week. So it's been really good to see that.
That's interesting that's the feel right now. That's a good sign. It's interesting. I talked about this earlier, or I talked about it last week. I kind of went back through the numbers, because there's been this pattern with this administration. We've always done this. Mm-hmm. And what I'm talking about is revising the numbers after they've been reported. Now, that happens
Oh
on a
yeah,
lot of
yeah,
economic numbers coming out of the government. They put out what they would call a preliminary number, and then later on, when more information comes in, they revise it. And we know the
right,
dates these things are coming out. We all watch for them because they all kind of tell us what's going on with the economy. But there seems to be a pretty
right,
clear pattern with this administration that the numbers are always way off after they've been revised. And they always seem to be off in one direction. And the direction is they're off in order to make the economy look better. And
right,
that's a
right. Yes,
horrible thing. And like I said, there have always been revisions, but in the past, historically, the revisions are usually either pretty small and they could go either direction. Oh, we underreported. Oh, nope, we
right,
overreported. So you get it. It's not a huge number and it goes in either direction. So you say, yeah, that's just data. We know that data has issues like that, except with this
mhm,
administration, a number gets reported like unemployment or the number of jobs added. They've really messed with that one a lot, and it makes it look like the economy's adding all these jobs. And we've talked about it. I would
right,
look around and say, where are all these jobs coming from? These numbers don't seem to reflect what we're really seeing in the real world. Well, then months and months later, quietly, you find out that wasn't the right number. They keep
right.
revising these numbers. They did it on inflation. They continue to do it on inflation. This came out again and revised a number from months ago. I was trying to go back and actually plug in the right numbers after the fact. It looks to me like we've probably been in a recession for about 2 years, but they don't report it as a recession. And we also know that trucking is kind of a leading economic indicator, and we feel like we've been through a recession.
Yeah, I think the thing that throws the kind of where the economists are looking at recession or not is just in overall purchasing in the United States. And there's some areas where there's struggles, but overall purchasing has been what they define as maintenance mode. Now, depends on who it's serving, who it's serving when they look at maintenance mode. But yeah, it does feel like that. And here's the thing that throws me off. We've had the government, our federal government has reported no real recession, yet we had inflation, significant inflation over what it was. And inflation has been coming back down in the United States over the last 24 months or 18 months. And here's the thing, if you know anything about economics, and is that the number one way to move inflation back downward is to create a recession. So
Right.
how have we not had a recession and inflation's come down? I'm trying to figure that one out.
Yeah, well, and then the way they report the inflation drives me a little crazy. They say inflation is down when that's not correct. The rate of inflation is down. Inflation
Right,
is
right.
not
Yeah.
down. Inflation is still extremely elevated and continues to go up. It's just not going up as fast as it did maybe last month or last year, and they make it sound like it went down.
Yeah, it is baffling how, I learned this in golf. It's called, golfers call it pencil whipping the score.
That's right.
In other words, yeah,
Yes.
I
Yeah.
shot a 81.
Uh, uh,
Yeah, but you took a mulligan on these
yeah.
three holes. You moved your ball on that hole.
Exactly.
And the
Yeah.
government's kind of playing pencil whipping things kind of back and forth to make themselves feel good or look good or whatever else. And when we in the real world, we're still dealing with things that are challenging, where housing is even less affordable this year than it was last year at the same exact time. Last year, if they measured on a 100-point scale, so 100 is housing is affordable. If it's above 100, it's more affordable. If it's below 100, it's less affordable. Last year it was like 74, which means it's not affordable. This year it was like 68. It went even lower. So if the economy has been so great, and I'm not saying it's been terrible, I'm just saying, but if it's been so great, how come housing hadn't changed at all?
Well, and how come housing hasn't changed at all is another good question. It should have by now. When you look at what's happened with interest
Oh,
rates, with
yeah,
inflation, with the slowing economy, the market should have almost collapsed, really. I was reading a real estate analyst last week, and they're just as confused about the real estate market as we are about the trucking market. Nobody really understands
Right.
why these markets are acting the way they're acting. They're not following the patterns that have been historical for decades. Here's
That's
another
right.
here's another
That's right.
weird one.
So, what you got?
Are you watching the polls?
I am watching the polls.
So
Definitely, I'm watching the polls to see sort of sentiment. Yeah,
So
what's
almost
up?
every poll I look at, whether it's a Fox poll, which should be more conservative, a CNN poll, which should be, they're almost all razor thin everywhere. Like almost
Oh yeah.
every state, the overall, almost every number we track is within the margin of error,
hmm
which means
Oh
there's
yeah.
nobody leading. That this is a dead heat. It's when you look at all these polls, except one. Have you seen the Poly Market poll? Do you follow that one?
I have not. What does it say?
So the Poly Market, it's not really a poll, it's a betting site.
Oh well.
So you can go
Really?
bet on who wins. And this Poly Market, and it's polymarket.com if you want to go look at it. It tracks
Right.
how people are betting. And you can bet on Trump's going to win, or you can bet on Harris is going to win, and the prices change. But right now, it is like 62% to Trump, 38 to Harris in the Poly Market. It's like a
Wow.
slaughter. It's not even close.
That's amazing.
And this is kind of a big
what's
deal.
the driving sort of what are some of the thoughts for why it's that way?
The thought that I've heard from analysts is that all of the other polls are just so bad and they're so skewed, and that some people absolutely will not answer a poll honestly, and the media is manipulating the polls, and that seems to be the only explanation, is that the media manipulates and the polling companies manipulate, and people are afraid to answer these polls. I made a comment on Friday, and it didn't dawn on me. I said, this election seems really weird in that I'm not seeing hardly any election signs for president. I mean, our little town is covered with election signs for all of our local races. Almost, I don't know if I've seen a single presidential sign in our town. I haven't seen bumper stickers this year. And when I said it, I was saying, I don't understand why it seems so different. And Joel said, immediately said, Kevin, people are afraid. They don't want the somebody tearing up their signs or stealing their signs, or targeting them because of who. And I thought that may very well be what's going on.
Well, I mean, I live in a pretty conservative state, and so actually a very conservative state as far as like how they vote, and so I've not. That's interesting. I have not seen many signs either. I was in Charleston. I saw some Harris Waltz signs. I saw a Harris Waltz sign outside of my church yesterday, which is very interesting. Now I live in a college town, so you have a
Yeah.
lot of the professorial types that tend to be moderate, even libertarian, or liberal on that end. So wouldn't be surprised to see all that. But just in general, but you're right though. In general, I have seen very few. I'm voting for so and so or support so and so. Just seen very few, and maybe some of that, maybe some of that is just the social media world we live in. People go, why don't you put a sign in the yard? I'll just put it on my feed.
Maybe
where there's more people that see it. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, I just noticed it, and as soon as I said it, Joel said, "Well, I think people are just afraid this time because of all the backlash and the things that are going on." And so it's almost being set up as the results are going to be a total shock to everybody. It's like there's really no good way to look around and predict where are we really in now. when you look at some of the individual statistics, it starts to look confusing too. Because if you look at what's happened with the black vote, which happened with the Hispanic vote, they've shifted in pretty big numbers to the Republican Party. When you look at, look at the ticket they're talking about right now with Tulsi Gabbard and Elon Musk and RFK. Lifelong Democrats who are now part of, the campaign, really. There seems to be a big shift, except the polls do not show that at all. If you would take last year's numbers or last election's numbers or the last two that Trump's been in, and you look at the percentage of black and Hispanic vote he got and how close the election was, and then you project that into this election and it shouldn't even be close. But yet it's razor thin everywhere. A lot of it just doesn't make sense.
Well, I'm with you. I think the thing, you may have hit it in the beginning, which is you talked about the signs being in the yards. And so if you used to vote a certain way, then your social circle is typically, not always, but typically in that sort of circle. People want to always be in the echo chamber. They want to be around people that agree with them. And I understand that. But if you have concern about, it's, I always love this. It happened many, many years ago. And it may have been Bill Clinton that said this when he said, "It's the economy, stupid."
Oh, that was James
It's
Carville,
always
I
the
think.
economy. That was who?
James Carville.
Okay. Well, he did say that, right? I just thought maybe I'd heard
it
Clinton
was
say
during,
this because
it was during
people
Clinton's
always
election.
vote. People
Right.
always vote. Yeah, go ahead.
No, it was during Clinton's election. That's why you're remembering that way. But I'm pretty sure it was James Carville that said it.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. So I just look at it and go, people are still looking at, no matter whether you like or dislike people, they're still going to vote with their pocketbooks because in the end, the administration's policies are what we all live with. And it's one thing to go, okay, well, and by the way, I heard a very, very, a Washington insider analyst person say last year after Biden had won, I was at a meeting and this person was presenting, and they presented every year last few elections. And she said if Trump would have handled the pandemic better, in other words, in the liberal and moderate eyes, if he would have handled it better with maybe more compassion, then he would have won this election too easily. But people were so like the middle 4 or 5%, 6% that swing elections were voting with the God, maybe this guy will do a better job on the pandemic because I'm still afraid. Or I'm still concerned, or I've got. So she was emphatic. I even challenged her on a couple of questions. She was emphatic. She goes, "No, there's just no way to look at these numbers and go, Trump doesn't win if he handles this, if he gets more of these people in his court, he wins easily." And so I think you fast forward into this election where Kamala just isn't. She's not presenting enough substance for people to go, well, I believe in that. And so they're looking at a guy who handles the economy better than others, and we're going to vote with our pocketbooks. This is maybe, but the people that might vote for Trump that would have normally voted for the Democrats are going to say, well, I'm voting with my pocketbook, but I'm not going to tell anybody. So I'm not putting a sign in my yard. I'm not saying anything. I'm sure not going to vote. I'm sure not going to respond to a poll. I'm just going to be quiet until voting day, and that 5% is going to shift, and Trump wins easily. So we'll see if that happens. I don't know if it's going to happen, but it seems plausible.
So it does seem plausible, and that kind of is an explanation of what's happening. I'll go a little further on this poly market poll because you can go back historically on this. Mm-hmm. If we go back to May, when Biden was still running, in May, it was neck and neck with Trump and Biden, like 47, 45.
Oh, right,
It was bouncing back and forth. But by July, Trump was at 60%. Biden had dropped it. Well, that was after the announcement. So right before the announcement, Trump was at 63. Biden was at 20. 33. Let's go with 33. They're 61 and 33 right before the announcement. So there was a big split back then, except if you remember, the polls didn't show that kind of a split. The polls were still running fairly close. So then Harris gets into the market, and the poly market in August was pretty darn close. I mean, they were neck and neck for a little while. Here's one: Trump 50, Harris 48. That was at the end of August, and they stayed that way, kind of neck and neck. There's 50, 49, all the way through to October. And just in the last couple of weeks, it started to split, and now we're at 62 to 36. Which is
very surprising, right? But
yeah,
but
that is a
like I said, if you think about how people are going to vote, then you look at it and you go, I see how it works.
Part of the problem with this, and I don't know what you do, the polls are the polls, people are people, but if there is this expectation that the polls and the media have set up that this is razor thin margins, it could go in any direction, and then it happens to be a landslide one direction or the other, that changes the reaction from everybody. Like, how did that happen? Somebody cheated. I mean, that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, for sure, because people's perception is one way, and then it's shocked that it goes the other.
Yeah.
Yep, you're right. Yep, that could certainly happen, no doubt.
So how is the market reacting to this right now? What do we have for numbers?
Well, I'll tell you though. I think what you're looking at right now is that. Well, no, let me just give you the numbers, and then we can talk about them. So the overall freight transportation marketplace is still responding to 2 hurricanes, a very short port sort of shock to the system, and actually the marketplace continues to stay extremely what we call an increase. It's increased over the last 4 weeks to the point of borderline moving back towards a little bit of health. I'll give you an idea. The market demand, the pressure in the marketplace continues to kind of stay really high. It was in the mid 50s and it moved up to the 70s. Well, what does that mean? It means that there's more freight coming into the marketplace for people to move, and then rates have continued to pivot. Rates have increased. They just this past week, the overall rates, Kevin, have increased from 226 to 229. Now remember, those are posted rates, but here's the thing they'll get you. I'll give you the first two, then I'll give you the thing that surprised me the most. Flatbed went up 1 cent. It's 231 average in the marketplace. Week 1 of this year was 227. So it's over the very first week of the year. Refrigerated went up 11 cents, which is a giant increase. But it's still 20 cents below. So it went up from 233 to 244. It's still 20 cents below what it was week 1. But the big jump, in my mind, because of the size of the marketplace, is the van market. Van increased 7 cents week over week.
Oh, that's a big move.
Which was remarkable.
Yeah.
But which was remarkable to me because of the size of the market it represents. And if I go down and look into some geographic areas where it increased, you looked at the West Coast went up 3%, almost 3.5%. Mountain Central went up 3%. South Central just barely up 0.5%. Midwest 3%. Southeast 2%. Northeast 5.2%. So the biggest gain was in the Northeast.
Wow. So
I don't know how all that's figuring into all the things that are going on. But my point though is that we saw a pretty big jump. We also saw the freight in the marketplace go up 5%. So it was right at historic normal, and then it went up 5%. So there's 5%. So it's above the market normal in this market. This is why I keep looking at it. And I'll tell you, because it happened again, this is the 14th week in a row where rates are above 2023's number. 14 weeks.
Wow.
That's not 2 weeks or 3 weeks.
Right.
That's over 3 months. It's three and a half months.
Yeah.
We've had rates over the previous year. So when I just talked to Noel before I was on with you, our economist. And by the way, he told me to tell you hello, but especially Lisa hello. That was his comment, not mine.
Of course he said that. Yeah. He likes Lisa way better than he likes me.
Oh, well, I can understand.
Yeah.
So, but his point was, he said, the idea that we've got rates above where they were the previous year, which was the immediate correction year. Notice I didn't say depression or recession or anything, just correction.
Right.
Our market corrected should give us all a hope that the market is coming out of the bottom of its curve that's in and beginning to build strength into rates for 2025. So you're going to see them increase because of the third quarter. The rates always increase some because of the holiday shipping and the different people that take vacations during the Thanksgiving holiday and the Christmas holiday and the New Year's holiday. But in general, you're seeing rates begin to transition back up, which I think is really promising. And then to finish this out, Kevin, this is something that should give all of us like, okay, well, rate strength is beginning to build. The outbound tender reject index, the sonar measurement of contract freight that's not being moved at the rate it was negotiated at, has went from mid fours to mid fives over the last 4 weeks, and it stayed there. This past week it was 5.26. Last week it was 5.68. So my point to you on that is that when the contract freight continues to get renegotiated, some of that moves into the spot market because they feel like they can get a better rate in the spot market, especially today. My point though is that we're seeing strength being built back into the spot market, which should help owner operators very, very slowly, but it should help owner operators over the next 3 months and then moving into 2025.
Interesting numbers. Have you?
Very interesting.
Yeah, I haven't checked on this number in a while. I don't know if you've seen this lately or not. Number of authority. Are we positive, negative? Are we still losing a lot of people? I haven't seen that number in a while.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, Noel put a piece out on that 2 weeks ago, and we had a net. Believe it or not, in August we had a net gain of carriers in the marketplace. Net gain.
That seems
of 4 higher carriers in the
bizarre to me.
That's bizarre.
So bizarre.
It's bizarre.
Right.
Well, maybe it's Kevin Rutherford's principle that sometimes the best time to get into a market is when it's down. Maybe. Let me look at what it showed in September, because I think September had just a little bit of a drop down, but not a lot. So let's see where he is on this. I know he sent something out. Where was he?
Yeah. While you're looking for that, I'll just make the statement that if somebody were to ask me, where do you think we are on this? I would say the number would be negative, a pretty solid negative number every month. And the fact that we had an increase just seems odd, really odd.
It does seem odd. So I'm going to send you something from Noel real quick that maybe you can take a look at. But it shows that it decreased a little bit. Total additions decreased. So we had a net loss in September. Let's see. He said we had a net. Okay, the carrier for hire carrier count was down in September 975.
Oh, that's
for hire, total for hire. That's small.
That's tiny.
It's very small, but
that's tiny.
It is. It is tiny. So I'm sending this chart to you right now, so you can take a look at it. But it shows. What you're just looking at is more and more people are figuring out where they fit in this marketplace, or if they fit in this marketplace. And we had a big drop. And I don't know if I sent you the piece from the Avery Weiss at FTR about the additions and subtractions. I sent you that slide. I thought that I did.
I don't think so.
It showed the number that came in during the pandemic and the number that have left since it kind of normalized or corrected back out. We're still more than 50% of the people that came in during the pandemic are still in the market.
Wow.
So I'm talking about that's on top of the normal marketplace.
Wow.
Yeah, I'll send that to you right now.
Yeah,
So here's what it tells me. There's still money to be made.
Yeah.
You can still make money in this marketplace.
Absolutely. Yeah. Hey,
So
I
it's
saw a
an
slide
interesting slide. Go
last.
ahead.
I saw a slide last week, and I've been looking for it, and I can't find it again. It was like a oh shoot, what do they call those things? Like an infographic and a chart.
Oh,
But
yeah,
I
right.
can't remember what
Right.
group, but somebody put out the cost of operating a truck now is like 272 a mile. Did you see
Oh,
that one?
that was ATA and Freightways did that. It was it was at 272. Yeah, it was a an ATA chart because Bob Costello talked about it at the ATA annual conference last week. And I just looked at that and went, man, owner operators.
Well,
And I had many people, even Bob said from the stage that owner operators can operate for a whole lot less than fleets can in this marketplace. So therefore, they should be dominating it. But
it,
they're not.
right, and they should because it's not even close. You know, there's this thought. There's always been this thought that, oh, how can we compete against fleets? They get discounts on their trucks. Well, let's talk about
Right.
that. Their discounts aren't all that big. Many of these fleets have complicated arrangements with OEMs where they buy so many trucks and they're guaranteed
Right. Oh, yeah.
a price when they turn them back in, and it's a big deal for them to try to manage that cost. But the big fleets are never without equipment cost. They don't run trucks,
Oh, never.
for a
Never.
million miles after they've been paid off. It is a constant cost for them, the cost of acquiring new trucks, and they're turning them over. They've stretched it out a little bit, up to into the 500, 600,000 mile range. But that's still not much. And they constantly have that cost of acquiring equipment. Where an owner operator, the smart thing
Right.
to do is not to constantly have new equipment. It just doesn't make sense. There are times when it makes sense to replace, but the other big one, um, the two biggest costs to move freight down the road are fuel and employees. An owner operator's got a big advantage. If we need to take a pay cut as an owner operator because the rates are down and volumes are down, well, that's just what you do.
Right.
You set up your business knowing that you're not always going to get those kind of rates and you can handle a pay cut. Well, you can't do that to an employee. I mean, companies have tried it. It's a disaster. I
Oh,
was
no,
saying this
not at
back in the
all.
pandemic.
They'll leave you.
I knew they had to give those raises, and I was saying they're just stuck here. They have to give the raise, and when this market turns around, and it will, they can't take it back. So their two biggest costs are almost out of their control. They have a very hard time controlling fuel cost because everything they try to do to control fuel pisses off the driver, and they have a huge problem with drivers. So they're kind of stuck there. Owner operators have tons more control over their maintenance cost. They could do some of the work themselves. Many do. You take better care of your trucks, or your maintenance cost is going to be much lower. We could just go on and on and on why owner operators have such a huge advantage when it comes to the numbers. It shouldn't even be close.
It shouldn't be. And when you look at the amount of freight that is available to them in the for-hire long haul, marketplace, one-way marketplace, and that's on load boards, and it's others too, because every broker in America has their database of
Yeah.
carriers that's used them before, and they're sending out emails and text messages. And by the way, every carrier out there, please make sure you check every single email address that's sent to you. Make sure it's at the exact email address that you know it to be, because if there's a letter change, or if instead of it being .com, it's .net, it may not be the right person sending you the information. So make sure you're double checking those things. But there's so much freight in the marketplace that's out there that's available, because here's the thing, and Noel shows me this every single month. Freight has continued to be above the trend in the marketplace. So he looks at it from what is the normal freight in the United States. And by the way, it's been growing for the last 30 straight years because of population and our consumption rate. But the amount of freight that's above the norm, above the expected growth, has been that way and since the end of 2020. It's been above the line. So in other words, we have more freight to move, than normal in the marketplace. So when there's more freight to move, there should be enough freight out there that's profitable for owner-operators to turn a profit within their structure.
And there seems to be for the people who have a good business set up and have their numbers under control, that this has not been a huge problem. I mean, we're not hearing some of the horror stories we were hearing before. People are just, it almost feels, I don't even know if I want to use this word, but it almost feels kind of like a normal market. We're just, it's not great. It's not bad. It's just, we're here. We can make some money. Rates are down, but I don't hear a lot of people really panicking the way we have in the past. So I think that we're fairly stable, which is kind of the confusion. I mean, it seemed like at one point we shouldn't have been stable at all, and yet we are. It's so. I know the numbers. And
if you,
and I know you're hearing this when you're out at these events too. I talk to a lot of people in business, and it feels like everybody is just holding their breath, waiting right now.
Well, yeah, without a doubt. I think you're looking at that you've got a marketplace that just kind of continues to move along. And you said normal. If you take out the two things that we just talked about, if you take out, well, we actually didn't talk about this one, but if you take out the inflationary effect on it, and then you take out the insurance effect on it, it is a normal marketplace.
Yeah,
I mean, it is. Everything's normal. Now rates could be better, but historically, the top part of the average rate in the marketplace was $2.20. Well, this week we're at $2.26.
Yeah.
So take out inflation. Now, here's the thing that and this is where everybody needs to realize this. Every trucker, every citizen in the United States realizes the whole thing. In the last 3 years, our money has devalued 25%.
That's
hard. By the way, last time I checked, that's the profit everybody gets to spend on, Christmas gifts and everything else. So you take 20, and this is why it's hard. This is where inflation has socked everybody, right in the right in the mouth, as Mike Tyson used to say. So that's what makes it difficult, is the inflationary effect has devalued our money about 25%.
All right. Hey, I am going to answer a question real quick that I saw online.
Okay.
From a pretty loyal tribe member. I'm assuming he's listening. I was going to try typing the answer, but if I try to type this, I won't be paying attention to anything else going on. So I'm just going to answer it because it's kind of an interesting tax question. So it says, let me go back. So he was asking, somebody received an award, Driver of the Year award, and the prize was an international cruise. And the question was, can that be written off? Well, there's two issues here, really. I'm not sure what you would write off because you were given this. There's no expense here to deduct because the person posting this is an employer. He's got a small fleet. Maybe he gave one of his. I'll bet that's what's going on. I'll bet he gave his driver. So he's wondering, as a business, can he deduct that? Now it's making a little more sense. That may be the case. I'm thinking that's what it was. Here's the problem. You could deduct it if it were, and I may have to go do a little research on this if it's a prize. My guess is that this answer is still correct. You can't deduct foreign travel on your taxes. And I was approached once by a company that put together cruises for groups. And they wanted me to do seminars on a cruise. And they came to me with the deal and they said, we make all the arrangements, we handle all the tickets, we handle everything. You just show up, do the seminars. And the way they were going to pay me was they would give me a certain number of cabins, rooms on the ship. And I could do whatever I wanted with them. I could sell them, I could give them away, we could do whatever. And that was how I was going to get paid. I'm not a big fan of cruises. I've been on one in my life and I kind of hated it. But I was thinking about doing this, and then I went and did all the research to see if the people coming, if they would pay for this, could they deduct it? Here are the rules. You actually can if it meets certain criteria. One, there has to be a business reason for the cruise. Well, there was. We were going to do seminars, so that works. The next one, though, the ship has to be flagged in the U.S., and all of the ports of call have to be in the U.S. Try to find a cruise that meets that criteria. Brent?
That's going to be a little challenging.
I actually found one. I found one cruise that meets that criteria, because most of the cruise ships in the world are not flagged in the United States. That's the first one.
Oh no, they're not even not even domiciled here.
Right.
Yeah.
And then most of them aren't going to go to ports just in the United States. You're going to go to the Bahamas or Mexico or wherever. Turns out, though, there is a 7-day Hawaiian island cruise, and the ship is flagged in the U.S.
Oh, okay.
So if you can get over to Hawaii, and it starts in Hawaii. I mean, the whole cruise is in Hawaii. It just cruises around the islands. That's the only one I could find that would qualify.
Well, I got it. Okay. Well, then how'd you handle it then?
We just didn't do the cruise, which was fine with me because, like I said, I really
Yeah.
don't like cruises anyway. I was thinking about doing it just because it would be unique and people like cruises. And when we talked about it, a lot of people said they would sign up. And I said, well, if we can figure out a way to make it tax deductible, we'll do it. And you couldn't. Unless we were all willing to fly over to Hawaii and do a 7-day cruise over there.
Right. Huh.
All right. What do you say we take some phone calls?
Oh, man, I'd love to. That'd be fantastic.
Let's do that. Let's go to Idaho. Talon, welcome to the program.
Hey, Kevin. So I noticed the other day before I left home that around my town there's quite a few Harris Waltz signs up. The big problem with that, though, is I live in Canada.
Yeah. That's kind of funny. Yeah.
Now we are having provincial elections right now, and I had to stop and take a second look, but they do in fact say Harris Waltz on them.
Do they really? How?
Yes.
The story just gets more and more bizarre all the time. It seems odd to me that Canadians would take the time to put an American political sign in their yard.
I mean, it does affect us, but it's not like we can vote, so what does it matter?
Yeah, of course it affects you, no doubt, but you're right. You can't change anything. It just seems odd. Hey, Brent, here's another one.
Trump sign.
Yes, sir.
I saw that was kind of an odd trend. I've never seen this before. And it kind of goes along with maybe this is why you're not seeing as many signs this year. But there are plenty of videos on social media where people put signs in their yard and then electrify them.
Oh, I saw one of those. That was really quite shocking, as you can say.
That's right.
Well, I mean, look, here's the thing, man. We need to respect private property no matter what. I don't care what's going on. Private property is private property. You better stay off of it. Or look, it's buyer beware at that point. So the guy that got shocked that was trying to do what he's doing, it's quite comical to see his reaction.
Yeah, it is. I agree. Talon, what else you got?
Have you heard from Bruce? I'm wondering how he made out with the hurricane down there.
The last thing I heard from Bruce about that was he was putting the property up on the market and going back to Colorado.
Well, at least you heard from him. That's a good sign.
Yeah.
Is he going to be on tomorrow?
I believe he will be on tomorrow. We usually don't know till kind of the morning of with our guests, the way things work. But I think he's going to be on tomorrow. And it was really bad timing for him. He just bought that Florida property a couple of years ago, and he's been hit every season since he's owned it, I think.
Oh my, where's he located?
The southwest, somewhere down around I think it's south of Fort Myers. I think he's
okay.
I think he's down close to like Sanibel and Captiva Island, but he's on the mainland down there somewhere. I just forget where.
Right.
Clearwater.
Right.
I don't know where. But he's only had the property a couple of years, and he kind of moved out of Colorado. Bruce has been a big snow skier his whole life, so he spends a lot of time out in Colorado. But a couple of years ago, he just said, I'm not skiing nearly as much as I used to. It's really cold out here. I'm tired of plowing the driveway all the time. He moved to Florida. And
Right.
now he's going back to Colorado. I guess the snow and the cold is better than hurricanes.
Oh my goodness, I bet. Yeah,
Yeah.
no doubt. Well, you get tired of having to dig out. I've had to do that, and I tell you what, if a tornado would have torn my house up again, I might have moved.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
one time's enough. So go ahead.
I don't know if you ever met him or not, but the guy that did our negotiation training for us at the CMC, George Gallimore, and he did. It was a big thing. We did
I did not know him.
a whole day of negotiation training. He had been with us for years. He lives in Houston, and I have completely lost track of how many times his house has been completely flooded in a hurricane. He's got like a target on his back over the last 10 years or so. Every hurricane that comes through Houston, he gets flooded. I mean, like completely flooded.
Wow.
Yeah. I don't know how he does it.
Me either. That's amazing.
Yeah.
So it's tough. Yeah, this is the one of the struggles I know that when they look at the property damage, they talk about hurricanes getting worse, and there was the NOAA guys, the National Oceanic Atmospheric guys, said we're going to have potentially more hurricanes this year than we had in previous years, and so far that's holding true. But I always look at the things where they talk about damage to property, and I think that's more. There's two things you want to look at: is you want to look at damage to property, and then you want to look at death. And usually the damage to property continues to increase because we continue to build things right in the pathway of problems, but deaths tend to not increase. Now, granted, the stuff that happened in North Carolina was unanticipated.
Correct.
It's interesting to look. I look at those things pretty directly because I've been involved in one.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I lived in Orlando, the year we got hit with 3 in one summer. I've been through them too.
Right.
It's quite an ordeal. It's interesting. I follow a guy on X, and he's young, like 22, 23 years old. He's just finishing up a degree in meteorology. So he's just finishing up. He's still kind of a student. One of the most intelligent, well-spoken, logical people. He's really, I swear I almost think that it's a satire account and he's really 63, not 23. I'm just really, really well-spoken, and he's got a big following, and he basically just continues to break the myth of climate change. And he does it very logically with nothing but the past. When they make this claim, oh my God, these hurricanes keep getting worse and worse. It's absolutely not true. It's not even close to being true. There's no truth to that statement at all. And he goes back historically and he says that the way that they do this is they just pick some random cutoff number and say, this is the worst storm we've ever had since this date. Well, okay, go back another 50 years and you'll find out we had 4 more that were way worse. So they just use these random cutoff dates, and he just lays out all the data, and he'll say, here's the data. You tell me if it's getting worse or not. And this guy gets attacked like nonstop by the climate change people. And he just handles it so well. And he has shown that there has been no increase in number, no increase in strength, no increase in severity. The only increase that they can point to, and you just explained it, is the economic impact. Well, there's 2 reasons for that. Inflation, one, you got to take into account inflation. Of course, it costs more to replace a house now than it did 100 years ago. But 2,
for sure it does. Yeah.
We built lots of properties in hurricane zones because the hurricanes tend to be in places people wanted to live. We had a huge migration into the southern part of this country. And we put everybody right in the path of the hurricanes. And he just shows over and over and over. And then they'll start on him, well, the temperature keeps going up. And he'll show them historically, no, it really hasn't. It's gone up a tiny little bit if we really look at it closely. But then he points out there's another huge problem that many of our temperature recording stations are, and he thinks it's on purpose, are placed in the middle of like concrete jungles. And concrete traps a lot of heat. So that's not a natural reading. And he actually, and another guy I know actually went through and pointed out all of these weather stations that are in places where that temperature is being affected by man-made structures. So that's not telling us the true number. But then when he gets into a debate with these people about it, he'll say, okay, tell me this then. This is kind of like you were just talking about a normal market in trucking. You know, we kind of look back and say, you know, historically, this is about a normal market. And he'll say, okay, if you think the Earth's getting hotter and it's going to kill us all, tell me what the temperature of the Earth should be. And nobody has an answer. Nobody knows what that number should be. And is it really bad if the Earth gets hotter? It's easier to live in a hot climate than it is a cold climate. You can grow food. I mean, we should fear an ice age far more than we should fear a little warming.
Yeah, well, no doubt. And do you remember when we were kids? I just remember this distinctly when I was in fourth grade that we were going to have. They were talking about a second ice age.
Yeah,
and because they were talking about it getting colder.
Right.
Now, fourth grade was 1970. Anybody on the call? Fourth grade was 1976 for me. So I remember it distinctly because it was the bicentennial year. You know, America turned 200 and blah, blah, you know, it was great. But they were talking about, we got to be careful because the ozone's changing and the temperature's dropping.
Right.
And here's the thing as I've gotten older and I haven't done a ton of research, but I'm curious like you. So I'm always looking at things going, okay, so what's the reality in this? And the reality in this is that we've only really been looking at weather changes for it's less than 100 years.
Right.
So what do we truly know about the warming and the cooling of the Earth? Because is it just a cycle that it normally goes through? Because last time I checked, about 70% of the Earth is covered in water.
Yeah. Yeah. It is a cycle, and we haven't been around long enough to see the patterns.
I'm with you on that. So look, I'm all for protecting the environment. I know
Me too.
You love the environment just like anybody else does, and I'm all for that. I'm just not for wrecking an economy to do something that. Sorry, I'm having to. Believe it or not, I'm driving to a dental appointment. I have a dentist appointment. So, but I'm. Hey man, I'm always moving.
That's right.
I'm just not for wrecking an economy. In order to do something that there's not enough evidence to say that it's actually number one that we humans can do anything about it.
That's my point.
You know, I think it's interesting that we have these people on the planet that think and say I don't fundamentally think we can, but for some reason they believe we can. So I think most of it's a cycle. But we need to be good stewards of what we've been given, which is you live in a beautiful place. I live in a beautiful place. The world's a beautiful place. We should take care of it, no doubt.
I agree.
But the most beautiful thing on the earth are human beings, and we need to make sure the human beings survive. So
good point.
That's pretty important.
All right. Hey, let's we're coming up in the top of the hour. Let's grab a couple calls before we let you go. Stephanie in Illinois, what's on your mind today?
Yes, good morning, Kevin. Hey, I had a couple of things. First of all, book recommendation.
Okay.
Oh, fantastic.
Go ahead.
Okay. I recently read a book by Dr. Mindy Pelz. It's called Fast Like a Girl. And I think possibly Sarah may have recommended this book before, but it's a relatively new book. It came out in 2022, but it incorporates fasting along with a woman's natural cycle. And so So yeah, it
Interesting.
takes a little different approach to how
So-
women should fast differently than men, and all the hormonal differences and things.
So
She puts
Right.
graphs in there to make it easy to understand, how to time your fast correctly over your cycle, and yeah, most of her
So-
dietary teachings seem to fall in line with what we talk about.
So I love that. I think most
think
of
about-
us in kind of the holistic natural health world have come to the conclusion that at the very least, we can all agree that we should all eat real whole food the way it exists in nature.
Mhm.
And the fewer packaged processed
Agree.
foods we eat, the healthier we're going to be. We still have a split about how much of that diet should be animal products and how much of it should be plant products. But for the most part, we're all agreeing it should be real whole food the
And
way
she
it exists in nature.
she leans more towards the plant products, but,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
just take her recommendations on when to eat carbs and when not, and
Well-
when to fast according
Right.
to your cycle. And I put
Hey,
this book right up
Stephanie?
there with Eat the Yolks
Yeah,
as
let me address this. I haven't read the
an
book yet.
easy read for a beginner.
Good. I haven't read the book yet, so I can't say anything about the specific recommendations. But let me tell you what my big picture response is to this, and you might be surprised. I kind of look at this as I don't know how I want to say this. Sometimes practitioners have to keep coming up with new ideas where you got to kind of set yourself apart with something. When I read the book, one of the things I'm going to be looking for is the evidence. And I don't mean it has to be some big giant study. I'm fine with real results that people are getting every day. But here's my first thought. And this is my criteria for everything health. We were healthiest as hunter-gatherers. I absolutely believe that. And it makes sense because that's how we lived for a very, very long time. We didn't have agriculture. We didn't have food plants that made food. We didn't have additives. We didn't have any of that stuff. We had to eat food the way it existed in nature. We were active. We got plenty of sunshine. We were grounding all the time. That is when a human being is optimally healthy. When I think about this, I think, how in the world did women survive fasting in the wild? Because I'm positive the food supply did not match up with their cycles. They had to, we fasted as human beings because we were forced to fast. There wasn't a lot of food. Food is the single biggest criteria to stay alive for every animal. You got to eat. And as humans, we spent most of our time gathering food to be able to eat and just survive. When we killed an animal, we would gorge. There would be plenty of food. And then you might go days or longer with very, very little food. But it was not on a schedule that matched somebody's cycle. So I just, that's my first criteria for everything that makes me really skeptical of why this would work. What this isn't natural.
Well,
It's not natural to
my
fast on this schedule.
Well, my opinion, nobody. I mean, people don't typically fast anymore, and there's lots of
correct.
women whose cycles are messed up, and diabetes, and all the things. We know how good fasting can be for people,
Absolutely.
and many
Yeah,
just
I'm
don't do it anymore. So
I'm
I
not
was
questioning-
looking at this as more of an introductory way to get fasting in, along with a whole food, a real
Yeah,
food diet,
I-
and primarily if a woman has problems, because that's kind of where this book comes in. If there's problems, you got to dig into how to solve them. So I don't know.
yeah.
her
Well,
evidence seems to be, fast this way, and it can help fix problems.
and if it does,
But at least it gets you into a way to fast that may work, or may use your hormones to make it more powerful for you.
and all
Hey,
of that's
Kevin,
possible.
what about hey, Kevin,
ahead,
what about
Brad.
considering this? What about considering that the effect that birth control has on a female's body, and the fact that many women, and I'm just saying this politely, and the way that many women have chosen to not have children until they're in their mid-30s.
Hey, Brent,
And how would that affect this?
it is a
Yeah.
huge problem. Women should not be on hormonal birth control. They should not be. It is bad for them. You just touched on a topic I had in my notes. I wasn't going to bring it up today because it's politics again, but it's very fitting right now. Do you know what one of the latest proposals from the Biden administration is?
No, what's
I
that?
give up.
It fits a pattern. It involves something free. They are just so stuck on this free thing. We're going to make everything free. Their latest proposal, over-the-counter contraceptive should be free. Why? Why? What logic is there behind that? In fact, if you believe Elon Musk, and I tend to believe Elon Musk, our biggest problem in the country and the world is a population collapse. Not too many babies, not enough babies. If anything, we should be encouraging people to have babies. But even if you don't want to, why in the world should all of us pay for everybody's contraception?
Oh, we absolutely shouldn't.
No, we shouldn't.
But you know, it helps. It helps the pharmaceutical industry. Let's
Yeah.
flood the market with more poisonous substances to keep us all sick and
Yeah,
you know obedient.
exactly. And let's buy some votes while we're at it.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Stephanie, I've got the book on my list. I'm going to add it to my
Okay.
Kindle, and I've actually been getting better at working through my Kindle list. Now that the weather's, it's starting to be the rainy season here, so I'm reading a lot more again.
Well, are you below 200?
I think
you below
I am.
200 books yet, Kevin?
Yeah. Well, I found two big mistakes that my count. I think the other day I talked about the count on unread items on my Kindle was way out of control. One of the problems is a lot of books, and then there's a huge bibliography of all the footnotes, especially the kind of books I read. Or at the end of the book, they'll put in a chapter of the author's next book. And I never, ever read that. Here's why. I can't keep track of which books I've read and what books I haven't read already. That's a big challenge for me.
Right.
And if I read that first chapter as like a teaser, then when I'm looking for books,
Right.
I'll be reading about that book and I'll go, oh, no, I already read that one. And I didn't. I just
Right.
read.
Yeah, makes sense.
So I just skipped those completely. The problem is if you get out of the book in Kindle before the last page, it always shows up still as unread. So many of the books that were claiming that I hadn't read yet, I really had read. I just hadn't gone all the way to the last page.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I get that. Yeah, it makes sense.
So
hey, Kevin, I had one other thing before you cut me loose, if you have time.
Sure. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to report. I was listening to a show from about a month ago, the Power Hour, when a caller had called in reporting on Peterbilt 579 MX-13 engines failing in his fleet. And my fleet is having the same problem. We've got about 400 or 500 drivers total, but in my one little terminal, there's, I think, 15 drivers. We've got about 5 of those 2024 Pete 579 with the MX-13 engine. All of the engines, all 5 of those trucks that we've got have had injector problems and had to have injectors replaced prior to 200,000 miles. 3 of the trucks, including mine, have had had totally new engine dropped into it prior to 200,000 miles.
Wow. So Brent, this is kind of challenging for me.
Yeah.
PACCAR, the true American truck brand started here, Peterbilt, Kenworth, fantastic quality. That's really kind of been the owner operator truck, right? I mean, if we think about historically,
you know it has.
We had fleet trucks, they tend to be Freightliner's the big fleet brand. International was kind of a fleet brand. Volvo's stuck there in the middle somewhere. But we had those fleet brands kind of, Freightliner, International. Then we had the owner operator trucks, the PACCAR products, good quality, that kind of thing. The problem for me in the last, this is almost like 15 years now, is that the engine choices in a pack car, I just can't buy either one of them. The Cummins, which is one of your options, has had a run of problems since about 06 or 07. Pretty major problems too, and it seems like they solve one and then we're dealing with another one. And then Packard picked up this engine, their engine, and brought it here to the U.S. It does really well in Europe. It's a pretty popular engine in Europe, does pretty well. Here, it's been kind of a disaster. There's not that many of them. There aren't that many technicians that know how to work on them. The performance hasn't been that great. Fuel mileage is a little sketchy. And now we're starting to hear some of these like major problems that happen in batches with this engine. So it's almost impossible for me anymore to get excited about trying to buy a PACCAR product because I don't, there's no engine I would want to put in it that's available.
Goodness, that's a challenge, Kevin, because I mean Peterbilt's been just such a excellent standard of quality in this marketplace for a long time. Hey, pal, they're calling me back in the doctor's office. I need to drop, but thank you so much for letting me be on today. Great to be your partner, and as always, and I'll catch you next week.
Talk to you next week. Thanks, Brent. All right, Stephanie, thanks for the thanks for the feedback on that. I appreciate it. All right, phone lines are wide open. In fact, I have no calls. I had a couple calls. They dropped off, I think, because we went too long on some of the other calls. So I could make this an early day. I have plenty of stuff I need to get caught up on. I leave here in just a couple of weeks. I think 2 weeks from Wednesday. I'll be heading out to Nashville for the what David Owen likes to call the best 3 days in trucking. That is the NASTC conference in Nashville. I will be busy. I'm not exactly sure what I'm doing there. I think David likes to just kind of surprise me at the end and say, "Oh yeah, you're over in this room talking about that," which is fine. I tell him if I'm going to be at that conference for 3 days, keep me busy. So I'm looking forward to seeing a lot of you there. If you haven't made plans, you should seriously consider it. It really is a good 3 days of trucking. It's a smaller event. There is kind of a vendor showcase like you would see at the bigger truck shows. I know Pittsburgh Power will be there. I'm not sure if any of our other partner companies are there officially or not. I'll have to double check on that. But I know Pittsburgh Power's there. I'm looking forward to seeing Bill, and I think Eric said he was showing up there too. So looking forward to hanging out with those guys a bit and hanging out with the tribe as well. So if you could make it, you should. And it looks like my phones are blowing up. So let's get to it. Sarah in Illinois, welcome.
Yes, I did recommend.
Hold on. I don't know what's going on. We were having such good luck.
Ready to connect. Click connect to show now. You are connected as the host. Welcome, host. You are now in the host room and can manage your callers from the Call-in Studio web interface. Audio recording is on.
That's like the week before your period. You should not
Sarah,
not focus on.
Sarah?
Yeah.
I lost my connection right when you started talking, and I just got reconnected. So nobody heard anything you said. So you got to start all over. Sarah? I just lost it again. Hold on.
Ready to connect. Click connect to show now. You are connected as the host. Welcome, host. You are now in the host room and can manage your callers from the Call-in Studio web interface. Audio recording is on.
All right, I'm back again. Twice. I just keep losing my connection. I don't know what's going on. Try that again.
Okay. Fast like a girl. I sent you a screenshot of the schedule that she recommends, and it's more about the fasting times during your cycle. Like the beginning of your cycle when you're bleeding, she says it's more beneficial just, you can do a 14 to 36 to 72 hour fast. It helps your body just flush everything out. The week before your cycle, she says, don't focus on fasting. You need to feed your body. And then she does talk about ketobiotic, and during some part of it, which I don't remember exactly what that is, but just recommends different things during different parts of the cycle. And if you have finished your cycle, like menopause, it suggests to set up a monthly schedule to help your body stay regulated. I found it very interesting to listen to, and I tried to follow that schedule for a few months and didn't really notice any great benefits. But every once in a while, I will remember, oh, I'm starting my cycle. I think I'm going to have a longer fast for a few days, and it does feel a little better. So maybe I did notice a little difference.
Yeah.
But moving on.
Yeah. Well, I just, sometimes, and I want to make sure that in the holistic health world that we stay honest and transparent. I don't want to go down the same path that we went down in the medical field, that we start compromising for whatever, to get a couple more clicks, to get a couple new followers, to sell a couple more products. One of the things I just saw this morning, and I'm really disappointed about this. Have you ever seen we have our product Light Balance. It's a mineral replacement, and mineral replacement products are very popular in the keto carnivore world because we seem to need them. And the thought is that we have depleted our soil of minerals. Even the animals eating regeneratively aren't getting the same minerals they used to, so we're kind of mineral deficient. And people respond well to mineral supplements. We know Light Balance works really well. We've used it from the start. It was one of the very first products we picked up, and we're happy with it because it works. We get results. This product came out, and it was Rob Wolf. And I've met Rob. We had him scheduled on the show once, and our schedules kind of got crossed, and we never got him scheduled again. But I met him at Paleo FX, talked to him. He has been a huge influence in the whole thing. He goes way back to the original movement of paleo. He's written a couple good books. He's done good documentaries. I love what he does. He started that company. LMNT is this mineral replacement, and it looked great to me. I mean, we have Light Balance, so I don't need that, but it looked like a good product to me. Now theirs is flavored. So Light Balance it just tastes like salty water. So you put it in your coffee, you put it in bone broth, it just makes both of them taste better, but it's not sweet and it's not flavored. Well, a lot of these mineral replacements are flavored, so you just put them straight into water and drink them. And they claimed that they had a tiny little bit of maltodextrin in the product. And another doctor that I follow, who probably is going to be on the show soon, he put out a post today that it turns out there's like 10 times more maltodextrin than that product than what they're claiming.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, I hope there's some good explanation for how or why that occurred, and it wasn't just somebody being dishonest.
Yeah, that is troubling. I think what happens is companies know that people are addicted to sugar.
Yes.
And so they want to provide that sweet taste that people want in order to boost sales of their stuff. And if people try something and it tastes good to them, sometimes because it's sweet, people will buy more of it. And it's just a driver of sales, but you're not really thinking about the ending health effects of if you taste sweet, whether or not there's sugar in there, your body is going to react.
That's a really good point. And then I think the bigger point here is just the honesty. Come on.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if this was a legitimate mistake and you can show that, okay, great. But I'm a little concerned. And I posted, this is something we have to deal with constantly. Like I thought I was done reading labels because I don't bring a lot of new products into my own world, and we don't bring a ton of new products into the store. We take our time, we do the work, we make sure there's no ingredients in these products that we don't want in there. But I am finding now that I have to constantly read labels because these companies keep changing things without telling anybody. I mentioned the other day,
Like
or
you were
Organic
talking about
Valley.
Organic Valley.
Yeah, Organic Valley whipping cream. They put in Gelen gum, which I've never even heard of. And then they tried to justify it by saying it's a small amount, and the FDA says it's not a problem. Well, I'm sorry, Organic Valley,
What
but
do
if you're
they
now,
know?
yeah, if you're now taking your cues from the FDA, I'm not buying your products anymore.
Yeah.
And then I find
it
out,
is difficult. Like when
yeah,
Siete
somebody,
Chips has been bought out, we got to keep it. If you want to support, like that product, and understand that you're supporting PepsiCo now, you still have to keep an eye on those ingredients because I can guarantee you they're going to change.
yeah. Well, I don't really buy Primal Kitchen anymore. And I have no problem with Mark Sisson selling the company to Kraft. I mean, he put in the
Mhm.
work, he created the products, he took all the risks, he started a business. I have no problem with him cashing out. I really don't. But that doesn't mean I have to keep buying the products. I supported him when he owned the company. I'm not supporting Kraft, and I really don't want to support
Right.
Pepsi. And you're right. It not only do you have to realize your dollars are going to these companies that are poisoning us, there's a good chance they're going to change the quality of the ingredient. We may not even know. I mean, nobody knew that this maltodextrin was in there.
Wow.
And the other interesting thing was I just read an article a couple of days ago about how maltodextrin is like the hidden carbohydrate nobody's paying attention to.
Is that because it doesn't count? How do they count that in the sugar count?
I'm not
Is that what
sure.
you
I've
mean?
been trying to figure that out. But one of the things we have to remember, we don't talk about this a lot. I may do some more research on this. Do you realize that on their and I still have to verify this, but I read it in two different places. On nutritional labeling, there's like a 20% fudge factor on all those numbers. Like you can be 20% off in either direction, and that's okay.
And also, most of it is just guesses
Well, that's
based
true too,
on
right? It's not like they're testing every batch.
right. It's guesses based on the measurement of
So,
ingredients probably decades ago, and how much
right.
have those ingredients changed through hybridization in between?
Yeah. And how much they just change from batch to batch.
Yeah, we don't know.
That's why we should strive
That's
to
why
eat.
we should stick to real whole ingredients, which was kind of
right.
coming back to my original point for calling, kind of connected. We always talk about hunter-gatherers, right?
Right.
And that's where I think, like even you say that you can't stick to pure carnivore for any more than a couple days because you have negative side effects.
I do, yeah.
When we look, and how many other people are like that? You can't be the only one.
No, I'm sure.
When we look at hunter-gatherers, the hunters were going out and getting meat. The gatherers weren't going out and gathering Fruit Loops and Wonder Bread. They were going out and gathering berries, nuts, seeds,
tubers,
leaves, and roots.
Yeah. Yep.
All of which, while they are carbohydrates, natural gathered state, are very high in fiber. And when you take time to process, some of the nuts have like what is it? Not chestnuts, acorns. in order to process them to be eaten, you have to soak them and ferment them and do all sorts of different things.
Yeah.
But I believe that while carnivore is a good therapeutic diet, we should ultimately strive to add that gatherer part and have fermented vegetables and roots and seeds and nuts and berries in their as close to their whole state as possible, except when that whole state is detrimental, like less of lectins and stuff like that. But those can be mitigated with fermenting, which is why fermenting, and the quote unquote primitive ways people had of storing and preserving food, even while they were, not vagabonds, but even while they were wandering from place to place, they did store and take some of the stuff they collected along with them. And that is where fermenting and drying came into place. So I think that, like I said, while carnivore is a good therapeutic diet, something that we can use in short term to remedy a metabolic situation that we're in, that I think we should not cross off all plants and fibers off our list. I believe it does have a beneficial aspect especially to our gut health.
Yeah,
and that's all I have to say.
Yeah, I tend to agree just based on my results. I can do carnivore for a little bit, but I can't do it too long. And it's odd that I don't feel bad. I feel too good, but I just can't get any sleep. I have too much energy. It's annoying. And at some point, you can't survive on that little sleep. I think that became my real problem when I tried to do it for an extended period of time. I think it was the lack of sleep that caused me most of the issues.
And I think that is correct also. When that's along with the thing, we're not as connected to the earth as we used to be.
Right.
And I believe the meat heavy should be first. I mean, we don't talk about gatherer hunters.
Right. Absolutely.
Hunter comes first. But gatherer is there.
I only need to have less than 10% of my food be plants. I don't need a lot, but a little bit of fruit, a little bit of honey, some sweet potatoes, some white potatoes, a little bit of white rice. Doesn't have to be a lot. It can be about 10% or less of my total calories, but I feel much better. Now, if I need to, like prior to, NASTIC, I know I'm going to be speaking a lot. Probably 2 or 3 days before, I'll go pretty hardcore carnivore. And I'll see a benefit from that, but I can't do like 2 weeks. The time I tried that did not end well.
Right. And we continue to learn these things about ourselves, and the more we experiment and learn, the more we just pass on, hey, this is what I learned so far, to other people, and we can all collect our learnings together and try and find our way forward, because we don't know what we don't know.
Right. Yep. Exactly. All right. Anything else today?
No, I had another little fleeting thought, but it flew right out the window. Have a great day.
All right. Good talking to you. I have about 10 of those a day. I'll have a thought while somebody's talking, and if I don't write it down right then, I can forget it. Let's, oh, you know what? There was a new caller on the line. I think her name was Stephanie. It was her first time calling, and she's a new listener, and she had what I thought was a good question. Maybe she'll call back, because the call's just gone. Let's go to Idaho. Talon, welcome.
Hey, so I was going to save this for for tomorrow, but previous caller that was talking about MX13 and a call from a couple months ago.
Yeah.
From last month. Well, the call from last month, I believe she was talking about my call. I had 2 MX13s, the same mileage, that blew up a year apart.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Yep.
Well, last week I had a guy pulled into a truck stop, and he had about 200,000 miles on it. And I heard him as he started coming across the truck stop. I heard his truck start knocking, and before he made it to a parking spot, he threw a rod.
Oh, you're kidding. What is going
No,
on
it
with
was
these
about
things?
10 seconds, just idling through the parking lot. It was a 2024 T680 he was driving.
So I'm going to go back and do a little research. I don't think they're seeing this kind of stuff in Europe with this engine. I wonder what's going on here.
Last year at my old carrier, they gave me a 2024, and it said right in the owner's manual about the injector issues, and that you had to run injector cleaner every tank of fuel, and PACCAR was warrantying for the injectors to be replaced every 100,000 miles.
See, when I start seeing reoccurring issues like this with an engine, I would just rather stay away from it. You know, we went down this path with the ISX back in 06, 07 with the cams. That went on for years. We had the fuel pump issue we had the clogging oil filter issues. It just seems like there's always something, and they're not little problems. These are kind of big problems that will result in a lot of downtime, a lot of expense, a lot of hassle. Yeah, and when the only two options I have in a PACCAR product are the ISX or this MX, I can't see it.
Well, at this point, I'm grouping the MX-13 right along the A26.
Oh, yeah,
that truck.
That's a bad sign, really. And I've been kind of saying that, but I was just saying I wouldn't own one until we get more history, till we get more people that know how to work on them, till we see more results. We're just not seeing that. The results we are seeing are not encouraging.
Yeah, well, that's all I have. Well, I will try and call back tomorrow to talk about that with the Pittsburgh Power guys. But
Perfect.
Anyway,
all right.
Have a good day, Kevin.
Talk to you then. Thanks for that. Appreciate it. Let's go to, this is my last call on the board, by the way. Calls have been dropping a lot. My call dropped twice. I'm not really sure what's going on. But if you want to jump in, I'll hang out. 855-950-3835. We're going to head off to Detroit this time. Dilbaugh, welcome. Uh-oh. Just heard weird. Dilbaugh, you there? Looks like we got a weird line there, too. Nope. Sounds like he's gone. All right. Well, I've got one more call coming in right now. I'll hang out while we screen that. I'll stay here as long as you've got calls and questions, or we'll wrap this up today. It's totally up to you. Does seem like we are fighting with our phone lines. Last week, I know there was a lot of solar activity that was causing problems. We're seeing the auroras way down south again. It turns out not only is the sun very active right now, a lot of sunspots, a lot of solar flares, but the Earth has lost a lot of its protection from those kind of things because our poles are moving. That's why you're seeing the auroras. It's not that the aurora is that powerful. It's really not. We shouldn't be seeing them that far south, except for the fact that our poles, our north and south pole, are moving. And when they move, we lose protection against these things. And we're going to have more of these issues and probably more disruptions with communications. There's also a claim, and when I went back and read this, I believe it, that the earthquakes and the hurricanes are affected by the solar weather. And that makes more sense to me than the whole climate change explanation. And there's no big pattern to show it. It's just a smaller pattern of when we lose this protection, and this has happened before, then we tend to get more short-term extreme weather events. Oh, there we go. We got that call back. Melanie in Wyoming. Welcome. I think I said Stephanie. Sorry. Melanie?
Hi, sir.
Hi
It's
there.
okay. Hi, Kevin.
What can I help you with today?
So I met this gentleman named Vic, and he has a partner named Sarah. They truck together their team, and he recommended listening to your show. I kind of told him where I'm at and what I'm struggling with right now, and it's trying to break away from brokers. So they're getting their cut, but they're digging in a little deep, and so I'm trying to figure out how to break away, and I'm struggling.
Okay.
I'm currently running loads for Bridgestone through a broker.
Oh, I heard Bridgestone. What was after that? Oh, we lost the call. Oh, let's see if we can get that one back. And I've got more calls coming in, so hopefully we'll. We got Melanie back in the screening room. Let me. Oh, and we lost it again. All right, let me take a call that's on there. We'll see if we can get Melanie back. Let's go to West Virginia. David, welcome.
Hello, Kevin. I just might have made a mistake. I just ordered a bunch of that water additive. I think it's the LMT stuff you guys were talking about there a little bit ago.
LMNT, yeah.
Yeah, there you go. That's it. I did a little bit of research, and it all seemed to be what I could find. Seemed to be like it was good stuff, but now I'm kind of not so sure. I was just wondering.
Well,
your opinion.
I have two problems.
I need to get rid of it or not.
I have two problems with this. One, I was never really a fan of the fact that it had maltodextrin in it at all. But it was supposedly a very small amount, like 4 or 5 milligrams of maltodextrin.
Uh-huh.
And the reason they have to put it in there is because they're doing the flavored version and you just mix it with water and it's got to taste good or nobody's going to drink it. That's why I really prefer the light balance. Just being salty water, and you can add it to other drinks, and you can add it to coffee or bone broth. It actually makes your coffee and your bone broth taste better because salt is a flavor enhancer.
Actually, I just take the lid off of it and take a swig of it every morning,
and that works too. So this was a good product. I wasn't wild about the maltodextrin, but I kind of understand why they did it. Now, the problem is the amount that this doctor is claiming is in there is way higher than that. And it's to a point where there's no way I would use this product if there's that much maltodextrin in it. And then the secondary problem, which may be the bigger problem, is how did this happen? If this is just dishonesty, then I want nothing whatsoever to do with any of those products now. I'm really shocked that this is Rob Wolf. So I'm going to hold off judgment right now and wait to see if there's some sort of an explanation here. Like maybe something got screwed up at his suppliers and he wasn't aware of it. I don't know.
Yeah, because I was going to say, how do you go about finding this out? Because like I said, I read a bunch of stuff about it, and it just like you said, it just seemed like it was just a very minute amount in there that it wasn't that big a deal. So,
yeah, I'd rather not have it.
Money.
I'd rather not have it in there at all. I certainly will not use the product with the levels they're claiming, and I'm just a little concerned now about just overall the integrity of the company now.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get something to change up every day, because I don't necessarily need the sweet, but I like a little bit of flavor in my water. I won't drink it, and I caught myself drinking like 4 and 5 things of Cardio Miracle a day.
Yeah,
and it's just a tad bit too expensive to be drinking that much of it.
Yeah,
so I was looking for something to save me just a little bit of money. So.
Right. Yeah. Well, I right now, until we have some clarification, there's no way I could recommend this product.
Okay. All right. I know someone was telling me that they thought Redmond salt makes packets that you put in there, but I couldn't really find anything like that. Do you know of any other thing like that possibly give me a little bit of flavor that's not gonna be detrimental?
Well, here is the problem. As soon as you want a flavor in there, you have to have a sweetener. I mean, it just doesn't
Yeah.
work well without it. And all sweeteners have some issue. If we use a natural sweetener, those are high glycemic. If we use an I absolutely won't go near any of the artificial sweeteners, sucralose and that kind of stuff. That's an absolute no.
Yeah, I try to stay away from that.
Yes.
I used to drink a bunch of Purpell, and I kind of got away from that.
Good. You know, stevia and monk fruit can both work. They're a little on the expensive side, so they're going to drive the cost of the product up. And they still have some issues. Allulose is kind of the latest. Seems to have a lot of benefits, but it's fairly expensive too. I like the idea of light balance where we just don't need a sweetener at all.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe I'll go back to just dumping vinegar in my water.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, Kevin, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks for the call. Let's go to Detroit. Dilbaugh, welcome.
Hi, Kevin. How are you doing?
There we go. Good. What's on your mind today?
Just I talked to you about a month ago about my wife.
Yes.
Had a brain tumor.
Yes. This was
the
glioblastoma, right?
Right. Yeah. Unfortunately, 2 weeks ago, she passed away.
I'm so sorry to hear that. I have a nephew right now going through this. He was a medic in Iraq, and they believe that it was what he may have been exposed to over there, but he's fighting it right now. So I'm really sorry to hear that.
Yeah, like exactly what they told us, like maybe 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Exactly once they found out after 6 weeks, and they told us you will see that decline day by day. And I saw every day.
Wow.
Every day. But she didn't have any pain.
That's
but
good.
Just a decline.
Yeah. Boy, I'll tell you, the just across the board, cancers seem to have just exploded in the last couple of years. I mean, it just, we're dealing with lots of pancreatic cancer, more of these glioblastomas that I've ever heard of. And there seems to be this pattern of by the time people are diagnosed, it's too late. It's stage 4 already.
Yeah.
This is a tough topic to talk about. Every time I talk about this topic, I get a bunch of hate mail. This is one of the reasons that we have to be very careful with all of these medical screenings. This search for cancer. And some people would go, oh, no, we need to really be looking for it if it's becoming a problem. Well, the problem is the tests are not without their own problems. There are multiple dangers of some of these tests, including false positives and false negatives. But when you read the book Overdiagnosed, one of the reasons they talk about like prostate cancer, we'll use that one because it's a good example of this. There's a claim that if a male makes it to 75 or 80, you're going to have prostate cancer. It's almost across the board, but you're not going to die from it. It grows so slow and it shows up late in life that it really doesn't cause a problem. Or there's a version of prostate cancer that happens so fast that unless you were screening every month, you're never going to catch it anyway. So that's kind of the point of these screenings, are so hit and miss. And now what we're seeing is a lot of these cancers that they're diagnosed, and within weeks, sometimes people are dead.
Right. Yeah. With my wife, like last year and a half, she had so many screening, like that they check the breast, what you call that screening.
Right. Correct. Yeah, the mammograms.
Yeah, mammogram, and she had a few times. It's a MRI for no reason.
Right.
Couple of other things. I was telling her that but people don't understand.
No,
So I think that's what it caused.
we're all really terrified of that word. I mean, cancer.
Right.
I lost my mom to cancer. I lost a niece to cancer. I've got a nephew that probably is not going to beat this. Most people don't. We're terrified of that word. And when they tell us, oh, well, we can screen for it, we think that's just such a wonderful thing. And it turns out that it's probably not.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, we are satisfied. Like she never suffered anything. Just last 3 or 4 days, she went to a wheelchair, and last 2 days she didn't. She just slept, didn't open her eyes. That's it. No
Yeah.
pain, nothing.
Wow. Well, I had never thought about this, but so when my mom went through cancer, she had lymphoma. The pain was horrendous. I mean, that's one of the worst parts about most cancers is the pain at the end is really bad. That's what fentanyl was developed for. Fentanyl was developed for that end of life cancer pain that is so bad, and you don't worry about somebody becoming addicted at that point. Um, and then we just started using fentanyl as a general painkiller, and that was a really, really bad idea. But I hadn't thought about this. The reason she didn't experience any pain is because the brain doesn't feel pain. If it's a brain cancer, the brain
Right.
doesn't feel any pain at all. Every other organ in your body, anywhere else you would get cancer, creates horrendous pain. But I never thought about it. In the brain, I guess there would be no pain.
Yeah. And my daughter was giving her morphine, so that last couple of days, little heavy
Okay.
dose,
Got it. Yeah.
and he was sleeping. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, really sorry to hear
Okay.
that.
Yeah. Somebody was talking about this electrolyte.
Right.
I am using Redmond's Relight. It's called Relight. It is pretty good. I used to take Light Balance, but this Relight is a little bit cheaper, and there's nothing in it.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. These are flavored. So what are they using as a sweetener in these?
No, I'm taking it unflavored.
Oh, every one of them I'm seeing right. I don't even see an unflavored on here. Just trying to see what they use
Yeah.
for. Here's their hydration product, but it's berry flavored, mango flavored, mojito flavored. I can't find the plain on this. And I'm trying to find the ingredient. I hate when they make. Oh, there we go. They make it so hard to find the ingredients. Okay, they're using stevia. Well, they're using something called Rebout. I can't even pronounce this. Rebaudioside A, which is a stevia leaf extract. I don't know a whole lot about it. Other than that, this seems like a pretty good blend. It's got magnesium malate and magnesium glycinate, so that's fine. It's got a little bit of it's using potassium citrate, and then the Redmond's real salt. So yeah, this one looks fine, and they're using stevia.
Oh,
so
okay.
yeah, I mean this one looks okay.
Yeah. I'm using unflavored, so there's nothing.
Okay.
No
Yeah.
sweetener at all.
Yeah, it looks fine.
Yeah.
It looks like a good balance.
Okay. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Have a good day.
Thanks for the call. Let's go to Texas. Dwight, welcome.
Hey, Kevin. Water. I try to, for the most part, stick with water, and I do flavor it. Of course, obviously, with the Cardio Miracle, I'm a big fan of that, and no, I don't have a problem with the flavor. But I listened to Dave Asprey, and he talked about structured water, and so I think I did it what was called the natural way. Of course, he's got some funky machine, but I just take a glass jug and put it in the sun, and I forget the amount of hours, and then you let it cool, and it's supposed to be structured. And I will say it did taste good, and so that was one thing I was going to ask you about, what you think about that or know about that.
This is one of those topics that I've never been able to form much of an opinion about. It's been around for a long time. This isn't anything new. I read Dr. Mercola talk about structured water probably a decade ago, even more. I had actually studied structured water prior to getting into the whole health thing. I've always been involved in health, and I've always read this kind of stuff. But I can remember reading about structured water prior to even starting the whole health thing. From what I understand, when we get water through our food, it is structured.
Right.
So if we're getting a lot of water with fruit or other foods, then we're probably getting structured water. This whole thing has never made a lot of sense to me. I'm not saying it doesn't work or it does work. I've never seen any significant results. I mean, I've tried this at times, and I've never. I can't even say I've seen any results.
Well, let me tell you why I'm interested in it. Is I have a hard time, and I don't know. You may be able to throw some possibilities of what's going on. I drink quite a bit of water. You know, I bring with me most of the time 4 to 5 gallons with me, because I filter it at home, and because one, I want that, and I don't want to spend the money because it's ridiculous. We spend more money for a gallon of water than we do a gallon of diesel fuel now, just about.
Right.
So yeah. So, but it just, I drink so much and it just fills me up. It just sits on my stomach. I'm bloated, and then it kills my appetite.
Ooh.
And so if I structure that, but it's just so time consuming. But the other thing is mineral water. Now, Topo Chico is the big nationwide, and then we've got a couple other local here in Texas, and I like that. And when you figure the price, now I'm back up to $2 for a bottle of water, which it comes in glass, and I love that. Nothing tastes better than a cold glass, something to drink in a glass of water. But so I'm having a hard time staying hydrated.
So here's the trick on hydration.
Not being bloated.
Here's the trick on hydration, and I don't think structured water is going to change this. What you can't do is wait until you're thirsty and then drink a whole bunch at once. I mean, that's what.
Oh, I don't. Yeah.
That's yeah. Well, you just said you drink a bunch. It feels like it's just sitting in your stomach. That you're drinking too much.
But I
at one
drink.
time.
But I'm drinking nonstop.
Well,
pretty
then,
much. I mean.
Well, then, what are you using for electrolytes?
Well, I use one, just like the guy I just talked about. I use some of the Redmond. I use some of your
Light Balance.
Goodness, White Balance. White Balance.
How much?
Have enough of that. So my wife likes this Redmonds, and so I do that. And she also just takes sea salt and makes your own electrolyte, where you just put a teaspoon or tablespoon into your water. So I carry that with me, which that's a pain in the butt.
Hold on. That's just salt and some trace minerals. When we talk about electrolytes, we're primarily talking about magnesium and potassium, and you don't get those from salt. So when you put salt in water, that's fine. I mean, we need more salt, but so it is the combination of the three: salt, magnesium, and potassium in a balance. That's why the product is actually called Light Balance. That there is a balance we should maintain of those three. And if you are sipping water throughout the day and you can't stay hydrated, then there's got to be a mineral imbalance or there's something else weird going on. But a lot of people wait until they're thirsty, then they drink a lot, and then they wonder why they're always dehydrated. Your body can't absorb it that fast, and you're just going to pee it back out. You really should be drinking all throughout the day.
Okay. Realize that. Didn't realize that.
Yeah, when I hear somebody say, I drank water and I feel bloated, you had to drink a lot of water to feel bloated.
And I've constipated it quite a bit, even though with all the water, so I'm also not getting that magnesium. That's probably the part of that.
There's two things there. One, the magnesium will help, but two, you're drinking a lot of water. You're not absorbing a lot of water because you're drinking too much at once. And I do believe you still have a mineral imbalance somewhere.
Well, I don't doubt that at all.
Now,
so what's the easiest? Find what minerals?
Well, when it comes to electrolytes and hydration, it's salt, magnesium, and potassium. So that's what light balance is.
Test wise, is there a way to test and see what I'm?
No,
you know, I'll start doing
the. There is, but I would never spend money on a test based on what you're explaining to me. Drink your water slower throughout the day and add electrolytes. I don't think you need to test anything. I think we know what's going on.
Okay.
Now, if you add electrolytes, let's say you added 4 capfuls of light balance a day right now, and you are sipping your water throughout the day. And a week from now, you tell me nothing has changed. I'm still dehydrated. I'm still constipated. Then we're going to have to dig deeper. But it sounds to me like there are still some things we could do here and that this isn't really any big deal.
Okay. And well, I don't know how I missed that, but I did.
That doesn't mean that you shouldn't try the structured water. I guess you should. I just don't understand. Again, I'll go back to the hunter-gatherer. I don't believe that they left their water out in the sun in glass jars.
Well, no, but my understanding, rainwater is already structured. So, and I'm not looking to, I'm just trying to increase my hydration. I no, I don't want to. I'm not going to mess with that anymore. But I'm just was trying to fix my hydration problem.
Yeah, and I think I don't think structured water is going to have any impact on that.
Okay.
I really don't.
Okay.
I'm not totally convinced on this yet anyway. And then there's a couple other things I would want to know is, how about well water? Is well water structured?
Yeah. Nah, I don't know. I almost think it is, but hey, if we don't think there's any big benefit,
here's the answer right here. Water. How does structured water naturally form? Water changes when it comes into contact with hydrophilic surfaces, living substances, sunlight, rocks, and minerals. This interaction causes the water molecules to form a gel. So that to me sounds like my well water at the homestead is structured water. It's been in contact with all of those things. So my next question would be, how does water become unstructured? Is it because of the filtering process and all the treatment we use at a water treatment plant that makes it unstructured?
Probably. Well, I've got a 85-year-old hand dug well that my dad and grandpa did, and I think I'm gonna work real hard to get everything back on it because I certainly don't like the crap that's coming through the pipeline anymore.
Yeah, that's for sure.
So it's not going to be as good as yours, but I'll have to. test it and make sure.
I did find out here that it's the treatment that we do to water, the chlorine, the carbon dioxide, all that stuff that we do to get rid of the bacteria and the viruses. That's what destructures our water. So if we, so here's the thing: this isn't some kind of special hack. If we were living as hunter-gatherers, all of our water would be structured. It'd either be coming out of a well or a stream, or we'd be getting it from our food. So at one point, all of our water was structured. Now it's not, because we process it all. So even our water is now processed.
Right. Screwed up.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I thought. Well, I will, I'll start going heavy on the white balance and see how it goes, and holler at you somewhere down the line. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. All right. Just in case you were listening, if you're going to search for that product, it's Light Balance, Lyte, Light Balance, in our store. All right. We have got Melanie back again. Melanie, welcome.
Hi, sir. Sorry.
There we
I
go.
apologize. My phone died.
No problem. We've been having, I got cut off from my own show 3 times already today. So,
okay.
Yeah. So I think the last thing I heard was you were getting freight from someplace, and then I lost you.
So I'm trying to figure out how to break away from brokers and how to contract directly with the shippers, and I'm struggling a bit.
Okay, so I can help you with that.
I just tried to do. Oh, go ahead, sir. Sorry.
Let's take a step back first, though.
Yes, sir.
Are you one truck?
Yes, sir.
One person, or are you a team?
So I just myself, one person. I do have another truck, but I'm struggling to keep a driver. So I just have it on the side because I'm just wasting money.
Got it. So I think I can help you with a couple things here. One, tell me your current method of working with brokers. And what I mean is, if you needed a load today, what would you go do?
Mm-hmm. I have a few brokers. I want to say I have 3 brokers that I can go to. That's it. And okay. I've been doing this for 10 years, but I've only been an owner-operator for 3.
Got it. So these 3 brokers, what is the problem? I mean, because that's actually
there's no problem.
Okay.
So there's no problem as far as I guess the problem is I know they're taking a larger cut out of it.
Well, wait. Wait. Let's talk about this for a second. How big of a cut are they taking?
I mean, I don't know exactly, but
then how do you know they're taking a bigger cut?
It just depends. Well, I'm on this. For instance, I just when it happens, like when I'm on a load, or I just see it. Like so, right now I'm on a load. I ran the same load on Friday, and so they said we'll pay you $1,900 to run this load. So I was like, okay. Well, I got the same load, and I said, well, can you guys pay me $1,100 extra? And so they were willing to pay me $3,000 for this load to do the same exact load. So that showed me they do have a little extra money in it.
Correct.
Some brokers are willing to give more, some are not. So I'm trying to figure out how to get rid of the brokers or how to break away from them so I can work directly with the shipper.
Well, and we'll get there. But I want to make sure that's right for you, and it might not be. For many times, one truck shipper direct freight can be difficult and risky. We'll get to that. But I want to help you with where you are right now. So you started 3 years ago. You work with a couple brokers, which is a great idea. Here's what I thought you were going to say. When I asked, how are you going to get a load? I thought you were just going to go to the load board. That's what most people do. You said, well, I have these 3 brokers.
I do that sometimes.
And that's fine.
I wouldn't have to if they don't have anything, for sure.
That's fine, and that's what it's there for. So you're already doing what I think is one of the better ways of managing this. You've built a relationship with 3 brokers. Now, I don't care if I took a load yesterday and I got a certain price from them, and today they're offering me a different price, higher or lower. That doesn't mean they're taking more or less. It means the shipper might be paying more or less. The market changes every single day. The market can change from morning till afternoon. Rates are determined by supply and demand. If a broker's got a load and all of a sudden the trucks just dry up in that area and he can't find trucks, well, he's got to pay more to get that freight moved. If he gets a load and all of a sudden there's that location is loaded with trucks today, and the broker knows this, by the way, because they track all that stuff all day long. They know where trucks are. They've got a pretty good picture of are there a lot of trucks in this area today or not many? If there's not many, they're probably going to have to pay more to get that load moved. If it's flooded with trucks, they're going to throw it out at a really cheap rate, and they're probably going to get it moved. Now, that doesn't mean they're taking more or less. Sometimes it does, but we can't say that. And I'll tell you this, I think the reason you're getting less on these same loads that you used to get is because the whole market has gone down. I mean, there was a time we were well above $3 a mile was the average on freight, and now it's down into the low twos. The broker's probably taking less than they used to, not more, because they're working on a smaller amount. The rates are just down. So you are doing what I normally recommend for somebody with 1 or 2 or 3 trucks. Find a couple of good brokers, let them keep you moving, because servicing customers is, well, let's not even get to servicing customers. Selling customers is highly competitive. And in today's market, there's more trucks than freight. There's brokers everywhere because the broker market just exploded during COVID. So you got to remember, every one of those brokers, what they are doing all day long is they are calling shippers, they are knocking on doors, they are trying to sell their services to move freight. You are just competing with them. You've got to go.
So is that the issue then? There's too many trucks, there's too many brokers, there's too many ignorant brokers, there's too many ignorant truckers, and so the market's just a hot mess?
Yes, you just described the market to a T. Congratulations. That's exactly.
So you recommend just sticking with what I'm doing and just keep those relationships in the position I'm in?
I do recommend you keep those relationships and you work on them, build them, strengthen them. If you decide, look, I'm not trying to talk you out of going to get shipper direct freight. In fact, I want you to go explore it. If you're interested in it, but understand what it's going to take. So first off, you've got to go sell them. And right now, the competition is fierce because we have too many trucks, too many brokers, not enough freight. It's the opposite of when you got into the market. When you got into the market, there was not enough freight or not enough trucks, not enough brokers, and an awful lot of freight. And it was paying really well. That market has shifted now. But let's say that you're just a great salesperson and you manage to go out and sell freight. You know, you still got to service that freight. That means when you're in the middle of a load and, you know, you're busting your ass to get someplace and provide good service, and you've got a shipper who needs to talk to you, or they're unhappy about something, or you've got to deal with a claim now, or it is going to be a big time drag on your time. And if you have that time, then you might be able to make this work. But it's not easy. It's going to add a lot of time to your day to sell shipper direct freight and service shipper direct freight.
Okay. I'll do more research, definitely.
Here's something else to think about. And again, I'm not trying to talk you out of this. In fact, if you want to go sell shipper direct freight, you can call me. We'll talk about it and I'll help you with it. But here's something else. There are shippers, and this isn't as unusual as you might think it is. There are shippers that don't pay for 90 days.
Oh, definitely. Yes, I believe it. I'm in it, so I understand.
Yeah,
I'm doing everything myself. I don't lease to anybody, so
no. You're doing a lot of things right, and I think if anybody could pull this off, you might be one that can pull this off and get some shipper direct freight. So I'm not trying to discourage you.
I appreciate I understand. I appreciate the confidence.
Yeah,
thank you.
I'm just saying, don't jump ship. You know, throw all your brokers under the bus and then go look for direct freight. I would strengthen the relationships you have And then if you have time and you want to go out, I mean, it's really going to require knocking on doors and selling. I mean, and it's a very, very competitive market.
Okay. Okay, I have another question.
Sure.
So I've been looking at it. When I started 10 years ago, when I was dealing with just putting drivers and trucks, just dry van, it was paying minimum $3.50 to $4 a mile.
When was this?
And so since I started 10 years ago, so it's around like 2014, 2015. This is when I first got into the industry. So that's what I've looked at since I've gotten in.
The average van
So I'm trying to figure out.
2014 was not north of $3 a mile. There might have been some van.
Well, I mean,
maybe you had better freight, but $3 is historically a really strong rate.
Yes. I mean, that's what I was dealing with. So I was managing a trucking company for somebody.
Okay.
And so the loads we were getting, that's what we were paying the owner-operators who had dry vans. It was $3.50 to $4 a mile.
Let me ask
that's
you
what
something.
they were making.
Was that, because you said you're working for a company, was that contract freight?
Yes, it was contracted.
That's why. Okay.
And it was consistent loads too.
Yeah. So
is that different then?
It's very different. We really have two different.
Okay.
We really have two different freight markets. And you came into the market and experienced one. That's what we call contract freight. That's where you go out and you sell that shipper and you say, Mr. Shipper, I see that you have this load that goes to this destination every Wednesday. I want to handle that load for you every Wednesday so you don't have to think about it anymore. And you negotiate a rate with the fuel surcharge, and then you move that freight for the length of the contract, a year, whatever you negotiate. That's contract freight. About, if I remember right, we're somewhere almost to 30% now. 20-some% of the market now is and if we go back 20 years, spot market was pretty small. It was less than 10% of the market. At one point, it was less than 5%. Now it's 20-some% of the market. Spot market means nobody contracted on that load. That load is going, a shipper is going, or a carrier will be chosen for that load every time the load comes up. It's just going to go up and go out to a random shipper or carrier. That's the spot market freight. The load boards are all spot market freight, and many brokers deal in spot market freight. If you go out in the beginning, you're probably going to end up dealing with almost all spot market, even if you're going shipper direct, because how many scheduled loads could you commit to?
I understand. As one truck, yes, I understand.
Yeah. So when what contract freight usually goes to the big fleets or the medium-sized fleets, because they can cover it. They always have enough trucks in rotation that they'll always have a truck available to move that load. If you contract on a load and one thing goes wrong, you're going to miss your next load.
Yes, you're right. You're right. Okay.
So you were.
I love it. You're bringing it into perspective.
Yeah. So back when you got in and you're looking at $3 to $4 a mile freight in 2014, that was contract freight. The spot market was not paying those kind of rates back then.
Okay.
And the spot market today, just so you know, the spot market on van freight today is $2.27 a mile. We just talked about it this morning.
Good to know.
Yeah.
Okay. Very good to know.
And the good news is it's on its way up.
Do you see?
Went up 7 cents this week.
It's on what?
It's on its way up. That's the pattern right now. It went up 7
Beautiful.
cents in the last week. Yeah, that's a good sign.
Okay. Wonderful. Do you see it going up? Do you see the market overall, even in flatbed, in reefer, going up as well?
The trend just recently, the trend is we are on our way back up. We talk about this every Monday. I had Brent on with me this morning. So this is something we watch.
I apologize.
No, that's fine.
First time.
Yeah.
I'm brand new. I haven't listened to anything.
Well, great to have you here. So every Monday, this is our topic on Mondays. We talk about rates. We talk about freight volume. Is it going up? Is it going down? Sometimes we bring on an analyst, Noel Perry. He tells us what's going on. This is something we watch.
Beautiful.
The pattern in the last 5 years, the economic pattern, the pattern in our industry, they've all been disrupted. Like I've been in the industry somewhere between 30 and 40 years. I can't even keep track anymore. And the patterns
Respect
used
to
to be
that, yes.
the patterns used to be pretty clear. We knew that you'd have a run up in rates, and then we'd have a little bit of a recession, and they'd pull back, and we knew all the signs. We could kind of predict this stuff was coming. In the last 5 years, everybody I know is just confused. The economy has changed.
Mhm.
COVID threw a monkey wrench into everything, and just screwed up all of our patterns. And there are no new patterns yet that anybody can determine. So we're all kind of sitting back guessing every week. The overall sentiment right now seems to be that we've made it through the bottom and we should start to see a slow climb out. So they're expecting we should
Okay.
end this year okay, and 2025 should slowly get stronger. I believe there's still one giant unknown that's going to make a big impact on that. What do you think it might be? Any guesses? It's going to happen in 2 weeks from tomorrow,
Oh, okay, that's soon.
the election. I think
Yes.
that the presidential election is going to have a huge impact on this, more so than most elections, because we have two candidates
believe
that are polar opposites. We have one party who believes the way that we improve our country is to give everybody a bunch of free stuff and put a lot of controls on things. And they want the government involved in business. They're even talking about wage controls and price gouging that they're going to do something about. And then we have another party that believes that we should kind of leave the market alone and we shouldn't interfere and write too many regulations. And in fact, we should be getting rid of regulations. And they don't want to give everybody a bunch of free stuff. And they're two totally different approaches to our country and our economy. And depending on which one wins 2 weeks from tomorrow, I think that will change everything. So I'm not.
Absolutely.
I'm
So
encouraged.
do you think it'll ever go union?
No, that's not going to happen.
No, I hope not. Okay.
No.
Is it not even possible?
Anything's possible, but there doesn't seem to be any clear indication. In fact, all the indicators are the opposite. The unions have
Okay.
been losing popularity for decades, and that really doesn't seem to be changing.
Okay. Well, that's good, I guess. Do you think the government's going to end up taking over a lot of the freight and a lot of the load board
No,
and running most of it?
No, that's not going to happen either. But we still see too much regulation. They're not going to come in and actually, well, shouldn't say they're not going to, but I think the odds are really, really slim. I don't see us going that socialistic anytime soon. But
Okay, that's a positive.
but the Democrat Party has two main things that they talk about. Lots of free stuff. Today, they announced that over-the-counter contraceptives should be free. Why? Why?
Mhm.
That has no logic whatsoever. Why should I pay for somebody else's birth control? Why should you pay for somebody else's? But they want to give free college. They're still pushing that through. We're going to pay off all your student debt. That is so wrong. We're going to give you a bunch of free stuff. They want to give us free health care.
But do you think that they're doing it? But do you think that they're doing it just to win the vote right now? They're going to give out tons of free stuff. They're really not. They just want the bigger people who can't think for themselves to.
Well,
Yeah, I got you.
That's part of it. But if they want to stay in power, they will keep giving out free stuff. It's what they've always done. They buy votes. They take our money and they spread it around other people and they buy votes, and it's working.
Yeah.
So
okay.
no, if they get elected, I don't see it stopping. I think they will do this. They will try to push through paying off student loans, and they will try to push through the single payer health care and call it free when it's nothing's free. I mean, that's the first thing we have to realize. That money's got to come from somewhere. Government doesn't have any money. It has
It's
to take it all
true.
from us. So anytime you
Very
hear the
true.
government saying something is free, they're getting that money from us, the hardworking people that
Yeah,
pay our
you
taxes.
guys will be paying for it, but we're going to call it free.
That's right. Yeah. So I think that pattern that we're predicting, that 2025 could be a better freight year. I believe it could be, but I believe if the wrong party wins, there's a very good chance we're headed for a pretty big recession.
Okay. And do you think? Well, I'll call back in a few weeks. This will be interesting.
Let me ask you one more question. I'm going to put you on the spot here
Yes,
a little
sir.
bit.
Okay.
Do you know your cost per mile?
Oh gosh. No, to be straight with you, I don't.
So let me
I've
ask.
never looked at it that way. I just told myself that minimum I'll take $2.50, but I'll try to stick at $3 a mile, and I won't budge from that, even if I'm desperate. And so far, I've been lucky.
So you're pretty good at this. You really are. I mean, you've done a lot of things right. So congratulations, but you are missing a huge opportunity here.
Okay.
What if you knew that your cost per mile on fuel was 59 cents a mile, but it's possible to get it to 40 cents a mile?
That would be amazing.
Wouldn't that be awesome? Because what happens to that other
Yes.
19 cents a mile that you don't spend on fuel? It ends up in your bank account, right?
True.
So if we track our cost per mile on everything, what does our truck payment cost us per mile if we have one? What does our insurance cost us per mile? Could we save some money there? Fuel is our big one. I have people
Yes.
right now that are in the 70 cent per mile for fuel cost, and I have people that are in the 30 cent per mile fuel cost.
Okay.
That's a huge difference. And that difference is
Definitely.
profit. Maintenance. We can lower maintenance
Mhm.
costs a lot if we know how and we track it. Instead of 20 cents a mile for maintenance cost, I have some people that spend 10 cents a mile on maintenance cost. And I have some that spend 40. But the only way to know is to track that number and then focus on it, try to improve it. And that's really a big part of what my show's all about. That's a big part of what I've been teaching people for 30 years. How much
Beautiful. I'm open to learning, definitely.
How much control do you think you have over the rate that you get paid? Not much,
I
right?
think I have full control because how
Well,
I see it
well,
is
you
I'm
get
not going to take anything unless
okay.
it's what I want.
Let's
But I also see it. Oh, go ahead, sir.
yeah, let's play that scenario out. Let's say that $3
Okay.
number is your mark. I'm just not pulling
Yes.
freight for $3 a mile. And if you can get that, it does work. And then maybe you don't have to focus on your expenses because you're making money. You're doing okay. What happens when we get to that market and there's just no more $3 freight left? It's just not there.
And that's what's terrifying.
Yeah, and
And
that's
what's terrifying.
so
I
that's
sat for a whole week one time because I could not get it, but I was like, I'm stubborn. I'm like, I'm not going to take anything cheaper.
no, I get it, but but you're facing the reality, and that's why now you're out here looking for alternatives. Well, could I go shipper direct? Here's what I'm trying to tell you.
Yes.
There's nothing wrong
Yes.
with that thinking, but you are missing a huge opportunity where you do have control. When the rates go down, there's not much we can do about it. We can improve our fuel cost. We can improve our maintenance cost. We can lower possibly our insurance cost. There are some other things we could look at too. The taxes. If you have a really good accountant that knows what they're doing, we can lower our taxes. If we structure our business properly, we can lower our taxes. There are things that we have control over, and we can drive those costs down. Here's something else to think about. And this is the norm in the industry. Everybody focuses on revenue. Very few people focus on expense. But let's think about this. If you charge somebody $3 a mile, do you get to put $3 a mile in your bank account?
I wish.
Right, right. You don't, right? Because you have to spend all that money to go make it. You get this.
Absolutely.
But here's
Absolutely.
So here's the thing. If I get somebody to add 10 cents a mile to my rate, the gross, I really only get to keep about 3 or 4 cents of that, right? Because the rest is going to go to expenses. But if I can lower my fuel cost by 10 cents a mile, how much of that do I get to keep? All 10 cents.
Okay.
Doesn't that make
How
sense?
are you lowering the fuel cost, though? Is that a loaded question?
No, well, yes, because I've been working on it for 30 years and I could talk for about 10 hours straight on how you do it. But I'll give you some quick.
I'll call back in.
Yeah. So, well, listen on Fridays. That's our big fuel mileage day, and I have
Friday.
I have
Okay.
I have owner operators who are my co-hosts on Friday. One of them primarily works with Volvo directly, and the other one works with Freightliner directly on fuel mileage products. Both of them are getting 10 and 11 miles to the gallon.
Beautiful. Wow. Okay.
And
Even loaded? Even heavy?
Absolutely loaded. And normal freight,
Oh,
normal
my
spot
gosh.
market freight, just like you're running. They are getting 10 and 11 miles to the gallon, and their fuel cost is in the low 30 cents per mile.
Well, I can't wait. I have a lot to learn. I'm glad I found you. I'm glad Vic and Sarah recommended you.
Here's a quick one. And don't freak out when I say this. Everybody does. They start thinking of all the they start thinking of all the reasons not to do this. Don't do this yet. Just listen to this number. Every time you slow down 1 mile per hour, you improve your fuel economy by 1/10 of a mile per gallon. Let me finish the numbers. If you slow down, if you were to slow down 10 miles per hour, now that freaks people out, but if you did it, you would improve your fuel mileage by 1 full mile per gallon. At today's fuel price, that puts about $10,000 a year in your bottom line.
Oh, interesting.
This is what I mean by you have control over this number. Now, there are times
but I'm a hustler.
Yeah, well, right.
So I see an issue with that because I'm like, I want to grab more freight, make more money. So when I see that, I'm like, okay, I'm driving slower.
So let me ask you a question.
I can see what you're saying now.
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Do you want to drive more miles or do you want to make more money for every mile you drive?
See, and that's where Truck and Smart comes in.
Right.
I'd like to make more money and not work as hard. I feel like everyone feels that way, right?
Yes, if we slow down, we might not get as many miles in, but you might be surprised how you really don't. You can slow down 10 miles per hour and over a year almost lose no miles. We've proven it over and over and over. What you will absolutely do is you will save the money on fuel.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll tune in and I'll listen to more of your shows and see what else I can learn. And I'm excited. I'm glad you're in my life now.
Do you have our app yet?
I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me. Yes, I did. I downloaded the app.
So you realize there's a couple years worth of shows on that app.
I can't wait. I have all the time in the world for knowledge.
There you go. Perfect. I will look forward to hearing back from you.
Sounds great. I'll call in again soon. Thank you for your time, sir. Thank you for the wisdom.
You're welcome. Take care. I love new listeners, especially when they're open. And she's already got good business sense. She did a lot of things right. All right, let's continue because the calls piled up on us there. Herschel, what's on your mind today?
Oh, Kevin. I have something going on that is kind of new, but I don't know what it is, and it's kind of freaking me out.
Okay.
I did start on the Cardio Miracle, but I am doing it at half of 1 scoop per day, not 2 scoops, half of 1.
Half of 1, okay.
That's it, because I'm very sensitive to stuff.
Oh, got it. Okay.
I also listened to Dr. Barry, and I got some Rugols, J. Crow's Lugol's is with the L, not a R, of the iodine.
Okay.
Because I thought, well, is that possible? Because one of the side things with iodine deficiency is cold hands, cold feet. I got that going on.
Okay.
So I thought, well, I'll try it. So 2 days ago, I did 2 drops. Yesterday, I did 2 drops. Last night, it started, and today it still feels this way. My heart rate and blood pressure are not out of control at all. I just took my BP a little while ago. It was 128/74. Heart rate was 74, but I had just sat down and I didn't wait very long at all. So, and my feet were flat on the floor, no legs crossed, none of that. So that doesn't really concern me. The weird thing, you know where your breastbone stops? Just below there, I have the strangest hollow feeling in there. It is the weirdest feeling. And I feel my heartbeat. Now, it's not a radical beat. It's just a normal thump thump like you would expect. But I can feel it. And my energy today is just in the tank. It's not good at all. So
what
I have heard that iodine can do some detox stuff. Maybe that's the iodine doing it. I don't know what in the world I've done to myself.
Well, iodine, we need to be a little careful with iodine. That's why I don't talk a lot about supplementing iodine. What's the dose that you're taking? Should be measured in micrograms, mcgs.
The bottle, all it says is 94% potassium iodide, 4% iodine, 2%. It does not tell the mcgs per drop. It does not tell that, sadly. But from what I've heard from Dr. Berry, it sounds like it's a full milligram per drop. So maybe I got a little carried crazy way, maybe.
So that, and it sounds like it is a 2% iodine solution, and that would be right. That ends up being about 1,100 micrograms. So I think that's like 1.1 milligrams. I think that's the right conversion there.
Yes.
That
1 milligram is 1,000 mcgs, I believe.
Yeah, that's on the high side of the dose. And remember, because that's, I mean, 1 drop. And how do we know we got the right size drop? You know, it's kind of like the vitamin D in a liquid form. One of the downsides is it's harder to be accurate about your dosing. Well, on vitamin D, it's not that big of a deal. If you have 5 drops or you have 2 drops, you're probably going to be within range, and we're not going to worry too much about going over on vitamin D. So I don't worry about that inaccurate form of measurement. But on iodine, you know, a drop that's 50% bigger, you're not going to notice. Now you're really pushing the limits of some iodine, and you might see some side effects. And one of the side effects is iodine has a direct impact on your thyroid. Your thyroid has a lot to do with your energy levels.
Sure. That's true. All I can tell you is when I squeezed the dropper, I squeezed it as easy as I thought I possibly could until it dropped.
But you can see how
not
that's
accurate at all.
Yeah, you can see that's just an inaccurate form of measurement. And if 1 drop is our daily dose, we have to be really careful that we don't overdo that.
Okay. Well, I'll leave that alone for a while and see if things improve.
Or try maybe a drop every 3rd day.
Right.
So it's a little, it's hard to control the accuracy of the drop, but one of the ways we could just take a much, much smaller dose and see if we get any benefits without the side effects. Just take a drop every 3 days, and now you're getting 1/3 the amount. And if you're sensitive to things, that may
Over
work for you, and you may start to see some benefits rather than side effects.
overall, what is your take on this whole belief of iodine deficiency? 1/3 of the population, because of the way the soil's depleted, you don't live close to the ocean, so it's just not there naturally. What is your take on that? I've never really heard you say a whole lot about it. Doc Barry thinks it's really important. So maybe I just need to just quit watching crap.
Well, I should, reach out to Dr. Barry and have him come on and talk about this, because here would be my question to him. Do you have people that you have helped supplement with iodine, and we have clear evidence that things improved? If he has that, then I would be doing the same thing he's doing. If I'm helping people and I have a method and it's working and we're getting results, well, I'm going to keep doing it and I'm going to recommend it. I myself personally haven't seen any results for myself when I supplement iodine, and I really haven't had that experience of people getting, things really changing. And I'm not saying it doesn't work. That's why I'd like to get him on and see if it's working in his practice. Maybe there is something to it. Oh, I can't believe I just got dropped again. Man,
Ready
this
to
is
connect.
frustrating.
Click connect to show now. Connected as the host. Welcome, host. You are now in the host room and can manage your callers from the Call-in Studio web interface. Audio recording is on.
It is iodine.
I'm back. I lost my connection again.
But anyway, one of the other signs of deficiency is unexpected weight gain. And I've been trying my darndest to get as close to the perfect as I can get, because nobody is perfect. But I'm still picking up a little bit of weight as time goes by. And I thought, well, maybe I am deficient in iodine. That's kind of the reason that I thought I would try it.
Well, and you know yourself that you're sensitive to things. See, I'm the opposite. I can take 2 and 3 and 4 times the amount of some things and not have any results. But if you know you're sensitive and you're getting a weird feeling within days of adding something like this, well, don't quit. Let's go to that every third day. And if you actually start losing weight, then I'll be on board too. Well, and if I can talk to Dr. Barry and he says, hey, look, I have these people, they're stuck. We give them a little bit of iodine. They start losing weight. They feel better. Great. I just haven't read that as a lot of results from people.
Okay. Well, maybe not that you need anything else to do, but maybe at least you can get Doc Barry scheduled.
Yeah. No, I'd like to talk to him about it.
Okay. All right. Well, that's what I'll do. I'll just leave that stuff out for several days and then give it another shot about Thursday or Friday, maybe. And
see what happens.
Yeah. Okay. All right, bud.
All right. We will talk to you soon. One of the patterns that has changed for me, and I'm curious, and it sometimes things just happen by coincidence, but if we're really paying attention, and I do, and I kind of know what's going on in my body, during the summer, when I would finish my coffee, like I'm done with my coffee right now, when I got off the air, I would go mix a Cardio Miracle, and I would drink one throughout the day. And mine is about 1.5 scoops or 2 scoops in a big tumbler. And I would just drink that throughout the day. I would usually be done with it by, say, 5 o'clock in the evening. Now that it's, cooled way off, I worked all day at the farm yesterday, but I'm hydrated all the time. So I worked several hours yesterday out at the property, and I didn't drink anything during that time. And lately, I've been drinking my cardio late at night, like probably not even mixing it till 7 or 8 o'clock. And some nights I'm not even finished with it by the time I go to bed. And for some reason, my sleep is improving. I'm not tracking it with a sleep tracker. I haven't been wearing any tracking devices for a couple months. I'm getting ready to start again. But my sleep is definitely better. It's deeper and it's longer, and I'm not waking up as often. So I'm going to start tracking it and playing around with that. My guess would be that it has something to do with the magnesium and the other minerals, but we'll see. And it's not one of these things like I drink it and it makes me sleepy. It's not like that. But I've just noticed that I've been sleeping better, and that's the only thing that's really changed. Let's go to Chicago. John, welcome.
Hi, Kevin. Just interesting news I figure I'd pass on. I have a friend of mine that his retirement was set up with his rentals. He had 15 rental units.
Okay.
But in the state of Minnesota, there's a law in the House right now to make all the rentals regulated by the government or the state of Minnesota. So he's pretty much looking at having to sell out. So they're pretty much putting a rent control on there. So his retirement gone out the window.
I am totally against any government interference in any kind of pricing. It is a disaster.
Yeah.
It's wrong. We shouldn't be doing it, and it does negatively impact people like this. That sucks. That absolutely sucks.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
It sure does. But just figured I'd...
Let me give you an example, because what they do to sell these kind of ideas, the politicians, and this is a Democratic thing, by the way. Republicans don't push for rent control or wage. This is a Democratic thing. This is clearly a partisan issue. And here's how they sell it. Well, but it's for the good of everybody. People need a place to live. We can't charge these people these kind of rates. I mean, that's how they sell this, that it's good for everybody. Well, no, it's not. It's not good for your friend. It's horrible for your friend.
No.
What if don't we brag all the time that we're such an important part of the industry in trucking because we deliver everything, right?
Right.
That means our services cost everybody money because everybody uses our services, whether they use them direct or not. Everybody gets stuff. That means everybody pays for our service. Well, I could say it would be really, really good. We're in an inflationary period. People are struggling to pay for everything. Let's just cap freight rates at $2 a mile. You can't charge more. You're not allowed. And it would be really, really good for our economy, and everybody would benefit. That's the same thing as rent control. And we would freak out. There's no way we would go for that. There would be mutiny. But yet, we have cities that put rent controls into place. It's a horrible idea.
Yeah.
Anything else on your mind today?
No, that's our VP candidate state there in Minnesota. I'm looking forward to getting rid of them, but if this stuff's going on, it's a heck of a deal. I just hope it doesn't continue to go nationwide. So thank you very much for your time, and have a very nice day.
You're welcome. Thanks for that. Yeah, that's awful. And we would freak out if the government tried to put a limit on how much we could charge people for our services. And it's my property. I should be allowed to charge whatever the hell I want for rent. And if people don't want to pay that much, then they can go find someplace else to rent. All right, let's go to Nevada. Jeff, welcome.
All right, let me take you off Bluetooth real quick. Sorry. I started listening to you about a week ago, and I haven't heard you talk about how to transition from company driver to owner operator. And I was wanting to pick your brain a little bit about that.
Yeah, and the reason I don't talk about it per se directly on this show is because there is so much to talk about. I have a training program called CMC, Certified Master Carrier, that helps you throughout the entire process. Every issue you could think of that affects this process is in this program, and the program is a year long. I mean, that's how much there is to talk about and how much there is to know. That program is a year long. We kick it off at the Louisville Truck Show with a day and a half live event. And then we do a remote training on a Zoom call every other week for a year. So I do a lot of this, but there's only so much I can do here on the air just because of limited time. But I can answer your questions. You can call as much as you want and ask me whatever you want, and I'll talk to you about it.
Okay, let me ask you this then. The reason I got interested, I got a call from a lease purchase, and it made me start thinking about it. And everybody told me, and I heard you say, stay away from lease purchases. I talked to a sort of mentor friend of mine that went through a lease purchase with Prime, and he had a good experience, but I know it's not for everybody.
Well, no,
and I'm worried that if I were to go that route,
I'm going to make a different statement. I don't believe it's for anybody. Okay. I don't believe it is the best way of doing this for anybody. Now, your friend at Prime, what is he doing now?
He's working for Mercer. He's got owns his truck outright. Works for Mercer.
That is a very, very rare occurrence. But I could still go back in time and show him a better way of doing this. Let me give you the single biggest reason I don't like lease purchases. And there's about 100 of them, but the big one. Do you realize?
Because they can take your truck at any point.
That's it. That's it right there. That is.
I've heard you say that before.
That is such a big no-go for me. Why the hell would I work this hard, take this much risk of going into business, and somebody could take it away from me in a minute?
Right.
That's too much risk.
So,
there's a lot of other problems. Here, let me give you the second biggest problem. And I'm going to do this in the form of a question. Tell me right now, if you want to be an owner-operator, why you just don't go buy a truck?
Well, that's what I'm thinking of doing, and I think I could pull that off. I wouldn't want to. I don't want to jump into buying a truck and then not be able to generate the income to afford it.
But you'd be okay signing a lease purchase and not being able to generate the revenue to afford it?
My thought is if everything went to hell, I could walk away with the one that I got offered and come back to being a company driver for the company.
And you can. Let me explain how that works. Do you really think that you're going to start this lease purchase and the first time you have a bad week, you're going to quit and turn the truck in?
No, probably not.
No, you're gonna say, well, next week will be better, and maybe it will be a little better, maybe it won't be. What you'll start doing is you'll start skimping on things. You don't have enough money to repair the truck, so you'll just kind of let it limp along till you get some money. You need a tire, and you can't really afford a new tire, so you'll go buy a recap. You'll put off maintenance. You'll skimp on things, and it is a downhill slide from there. Also, during that time that you're not making enough money, and this will go on for months, nobody ever just quits. We struggle. We think we can always pull out of it. During that time, you won't be paying taxes. It happens every time. And then when the final crash and burn comes, people are seriously in debt and they owe $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 in tax, and you can't even wipe that out in bankruptcy. That will stick with you forever. So when people crash and burn in these lease purchases, we make it sound so easy. Oh, well, I'll just walk away and go be a company driver. Yeah, that's not the way it ever works. I've seen families destroyed over this. Do you know how much stress there is to losing money week after week and not being able to pay your bills?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's why I'm so against these. They are a bad idea in so many ways.
Well, and don't get me wrong, I'm convinced that I am too, and I think that if I do this, it's going to be buying the truck myself and going that route. I'm kind of more on the edge of, should I stick with being a company driver, or should I go on operator? I mean, the company that I work for now.
Let me give you my
I feel like.
Do you want my opinion? Because that's all this is.
Yeah.
My opinion on this is when somebody is questioning whether or not they should be in business, then they shouldn't be in business.
So if I think I have it pretty good where I'm at, maybe I should just stick with it.
Yeah.
Where I'm at.
Yeah. I think that one of the things you need to be successful in business is a burning desire to be in business. You couldn't have stopped me from being in business. Nobody could have talked me out of it. Even when I was stupid and didn't know what the hell I was doing and almost crashed and burned several times, nobody would have been able to talk me out of it. You do know the statistics on small businesses across the board, right? They fail.
I know they're not good.
They fail way more often than they succeed. And owner-operators and small trucking companies are no different. They fail more often than they succeed. So I'm a big believer in business, and I love business, and I've been in business my whole life, and I've helped tens of thousands of other people get into business. But I've just watched this pattern that I think the most important thing you can have. Were you listening a little while ago when Melanie called? Melanie?
Yeah. Yeah.
She's got what it takes. She did this on her own. She got to this point, and now she realizes she needs some help, but I can hear it in her voice. She's going to make this work. I didn't hear any doubts in her about figuring out a way to make this work. What I hear in you right now is we haven't even gotten to the point where we're answering any serious questions about how to do this. You're just really questioning whether you should do it at all, and you're feeling pretty comfortable where you are. I will tell you this, that being an owner-operator for you is going to be very uncomfortable for quite a while. Is that making any sense?
I mean, isn't it uncomfortable for everybody that starts at the beginning? I mean, I don't know. I don't feel like that's something that's going to tell me that I don't want to do it.
No, I'm telling you that that's my opinion, and that's the pattern I've watched, is when somebody talks about their comfort level where they are as an employee, that tells me something. That's important to them. What you would have heard from me, I've only been an employee a couple times in my life. From age 14 to 16, I was an employee. And then at 16, I started painting cars on my own. That's really all my experience as an employee. And I hated it. There was nothing comfortable about going to work for somebody else for a paycheck at the end of the week. Not for me. There was, and it wouldn't have mattered how good the job was and how much money I made. There's not enough money to make me be an employee. It just doesn't fit my personality. So when you say, isn't it a business uncomfortable for everybody? Oh, hell no. It's the opposite for me. When my businesses become stable, I figured out a pattern on me that I have to be careful of. When my businesses actually succeed and become stable, I get bored and I'll go start something new. That's not uncomfortable for me. That's exciting for me. That's thrilling for me. That's a challenge. Those are two completely different mindsets.
Okay.
It's not to say you can't succeed. I'm just telling you that with a thought process like that, that's a handicap.
So I need to adjust my thought process if I want to do this, then.
Possibly.
Is what I'm hearing.
Possibly. Or sometimes And again, I don't know what the number is, but I don't think the vast majority of Americans are self-employed. I think it's a small part of the population for a reason. Sometimes it's not even your thought process. It's a personality issue. I know people whose personality will not let them be successful at business, and it's really, really difficult to change some of those things. It'd be like trying to make me a really good employee and me just saying, well, all I have to do is change my mindset. Yeah, I don't think I could ever talk myself into it. So it's just something
I've been
to think about.
self-employed in the past in other completely different businesses.
Then why aren't you still self-employed?
I think I was too cheap. I wouldn't spend money where I needed to, and therefore I didn't succeed because I didn't put out money to make money. I don't know.
No, that you should explore that. You should go back and try to figure out, why was I self-employed at one point in my life and then I wasn't anymore. That has never happened to me in 40 plus years of being in the workforce. It's the opposite for me. I will do whatever I have to do to work for myself. And I've failed. I've been almost bankrupt. I've been $60,000 in debt. I've had to close companies, but I always find a way to work for myself.
It sounds like you're kind of trying to tell me to work for myself and kind of trying to tell me not to work for myself at the same time.
Well, here's what I do. And you're right. I'm glad you caught on to that. I try much, much harder to talk people out of this than I ever try to talk them into it. Talking people into this would be easy. We call it the American dream. Everybody thinks they want to be self-employed or own a business. I could easily use my influence to talk people into. Look, I could have, instead of trying to talk you out of it, I could have said, Jeff, man, you got it going on. This is what you should do in your life. And oh, by the way, I have a program and you really should join it because I'll make sure you succeed. And I can. If you're going to succeed at this, my program would be the way you would do it. Except I'm not trying to sell you that because I don't think it's right for you. And if I try this hard and I can't talk you out of it, then maybe it is okay for you. Does that make sense why I approach it like that? I want people to succeed in life. If I can help them succeed in business, I love that. That's what I wake up for. But if I can't, if they don't belong in business, and not everybody does, then I sleep better at night when I talk people out of this. And if I can't talk you out of it and you do it anyway, then good. Then maybe you'll have what it takes.
Okay. You've given me something to think about.
That's good. That's what
I'm one of the top drivers in my company as far as how many miles I put down and how dedicated I am to doing it.
That's a good sign.
Which is what makes me think, what do I need to do? How can I go to the next level? And owning my own truck was my thought of how I needed to do that. So I want to go to the next level.
Okay.
I feel like I'm hit a wall where I'm at as a company driver.
Okay, so now I'll shift gears. Now I'll shift gears. I've tried as hard as I possibly could to talk you out of it. Well, I could try hard, but I'll shift gears for a second. Let's say that, okay, I'm on board. You're committed to this, and I'm ready to help you. So now I'm going to shift gears and I'm going to start helping you get started. You ready? I want to know two numbers. I want to know, first off, what's your net worth right now? What's that?
That's a tough one for me. I haven't figured that out exactly.
Most people haven't. I asked
$80,000 to $100,000.
How much?
$80,000 to $100,000.
$80,000 to $100,000 net worth.
Yeah.
And how old are you?
Equity in my house, vehicles.
Yeah.
money in my bank accounts, savings accounts, stuff like that.
Perfect. Okay. And how old are you?
42.
Okay. Well, that's a good number. So I like that. That's a good number. Now, one more number. If you had to just pay like the minimum bills that you're already committed to, keep the lights on, eat, pay your insurance, that kind of stuff, but we were willing to live as frugal as we could for a while, how much money do you need to pay the minimum bills and survive for a year?
For a year or monthly? You want a year total?
You could give me either one. Monthly's fine.
I think monthly probably around 5,000.
So about 60,000 a year.
Maybe 5,500. Yeah.
60 to 70 maybe. Okay.
Yeah, I have a very big house payment in California.
Okay. So you're borderline. That's not a slam dunk. The net worth is nice, gives us a little cushion and some resources to start with, but you've got a pretty big nut you've got to pay every month.
Yeah.
And the reason the net worth helps is because are you willing in the beginning to have some months where you just didn't make enough to cover all your expenses and you got to pull some money out of savings?
I'm willing to. I'm hoping that I don't have to.
You probably will in that first year.
Yeah.
We're at the bottom of a market, and I'm a big believer in this is when you start at the bottom of a market. And if we can build a business plan that works at the bottom of the market, then you're pretty protected. The mistake everybody makes is their business plan works at the top of the market, and then the market turns, and those are all the people going out of business. Right. Right. So you are in a good position to do this. I think you have some soul searching and trying to determine if this is really what you want to do. If you really want to do this, I think you'll be fine. And I could certainly help you, or you probably figure it out on your own. But I'm not sure you've made
what was
your
the
mind
name
up.
of your program again?
Certified Master Carrier, CMC.
I'm going to look into that.
And I also have a group coaching program. So in a group coaching program, you and I would be able to go much deeper into this, where you could submit your financials and I would look at them. And we do a group coaching call every Thursday, and it's a 2-hour call. Sometimes I go 2.5 hours. And sometimes in that 2 hours, I may work with one person. But I can go much, much deeper. And it's a pretty inexpensive program for what you're getting. It's $75 a month, and you can start and stop anytime you want. There's no commitment.
Right on.
So think about all those things and give me a call back, and we will go from there. And I just looked at the clock. I can't believe we're just about out of time. I have 2 more calls. I'm going to get to them both, and then we'll wrap this up today. Let's go to New York. Jay, welcome.
Welcome. Thank you a lot. Thanks for everything you do. Question: how do I open up S&P account? I tried it. So I opened an account for my grandkids. I went to the Schwab. They gave me a whole listing, and then they told me that I have to pick from a whole bunch of S&P accounts, and I was like a deer in headlights. I was totally lost as to which one I pick.
So I don't know why.
Some of them they control.
Yeah. So here's what you want. Here is the key word that separates all of these. What you specifically want is an S&P 500 index fund. That's the key word, index fund. And we want it to be, and if it's an index fund, it should be, but we also want to make sure we are getting what's called a no load fund. They're not charging you a commission to buy this because they're not managing it for you. They're not giving you any financial advice. You don't want their financial advice because they're going to charge you for that, even though you might not see the charge. It's going to be built into the fund. But if you get a no load fund, there are no charges because they're not going to give you any advice. But you don't need any advice because this is the fund. Put your money in the fund and be done with it. But it's an S&P 500 index fund. So what was the brokerage you said you already had accounts with?
Schwab, I had just opened it up, but then I got to pick the account myself.
Correct.
And like I said, when you go in the computer, it gives you a whole list.
Yeah. Well,
and I'm like,
that's what I'm trying to help you with. And I'm going to help you even further than that. So here is the stock symbol you are looking for. So to make sure you get the right fund at Schwab, the stock symbol, not stock, this is an index fund symbol, is SAM WPPX. So Sam Whiskey Papa X-ray. When you search for that, you will find the Schwab S&P 500 index fund, and that's what you want.
Okay. I got it. All right. SWPPX.
Correct.
And then S&P 500, and that's the one I want. No load fund.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thanks for the call. Let's final call today. Let's go to California. David, welcome.
Hey, Kevin. Okay, so when do I go to when do I turn from sole proprietor to LLC?
So if you did, how long have you been in business?
3 years.
So last year, what was your gross revenue?
You know what? I took off that whole year because of AB5. California is AB5.
Okay.
So I was fighting and the governor just ignored me. So
got it.
And so now I'm in Reno, Nevada, but So I work like part time. I only drive about 60,000 miles a year.
What's your gross revenue?
And
what do you
live out in the
expect your gross revenue to
half
be
of
this year?
half of what Matt makes.
Well, Matt makes 400,000 on a good year. I'm not sure that you're going to make 200,000.
No, okay. I would just say maybe about 120.
Gross.
Maybe a little 150.
Yeah. So my guess is your taxable income is going to be about 60 to 70.
Yes.
You could flip a coin on this one. We might be able to. I mean, we're going to have to. The trick to saving money with an LLC or a corporation is we pay you a salary that is smaller than your profit, and we take the rest of the profit out as what's called a dividend or a draw or earnings. And the savings comes in is if we pay you a salary, you have to pay income tax, Social Security, and Medicare. If we take it out as earnings, we only have to pay tax, just the income tax.
Oh, okay.
That's how.
Okay, but I was actually.
Go ahead.
Oh, okay. I was actually worried that because I have about so much money in my stocks and not much to you compared to you, but I got like 150,000 in my S&P 500.
Okay.
And I got about 50 grand in my business bank account, and I just live out of my truck.
Well,
and I want to protect that. That's why.
Well, you can't.
I was calling.
You can't.
You can't?
No. Well, you can with insurance, but you can't do it with a corporation. There's no real protection there. First off, attorneys today really probably are not taking cases unless there's $1 million in assets to go after. That's kind of like minimum. I mean.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So they're not coming after people like you, but if they wanted to, let's say that we just get some aggressive attorney who's just going to come after everybody, and sometimes they do that. You couldn't stop it. If you were truly at fault, if you were holding the steering wheel and you ran somebody over and you're being sued because of it, They can sue you as the driver.
Even as an LLC?
Well, they will sue your LLC because it's a separate entity and it owns the truck and the company, but they could sue you as the driver as well. You're the one that caused the accident.
Oh, I thought LLC would protect my personal assets.
No, that's what I'm telling you. It doesn't if you are truly at fault.
Oh.
And do you,
Well,
let's be honest about this. Do you think it should? I don't think it should. If you did damage to somebody, you should be responsible for that.
yeah, you're right. But I thought corporations do it all the time, and they get away with it and start another business with a different name.
The bigger the corporation, the more likely it is that the officers themselves won't be held accountable. The corporation will be fined, the insurance company will have to pay. Those are big corporations with employee CEOs. Business owners, and the smaller the company is, the more likely it is that you were the one responsible for the accident. You can be sued.
Oh, okay.
The good news is they're probably not coming after you. You just don't have enough money. I don't have enough money. I don't worry about people coming after me.
Okay.
And there are other ways we can structure our money, even if we have a lot. They can't touch your retirement accounts. They can't touch your home.
Okay. Even as a sole proprietor, they can't touch my retirement account?
No. Qualified retirement accounts, they're not allowed to attach those in a lawsuit. And in most states, they can't touch your primary residence either.
Okay.
I mean, we don't.
That's good to know.
And that's another good thing. We don't want to sue somebody and make them homeless. That's not good for anybody.
Yeah.
We don't want to take somebody that has assets and then make them broke and homeless. That would be a horrible thing for society.
Oh, okay. Well, okay. So in my situation, that I should stay as a sole proprietor.
In any situation for small businesses, the only reason I recommend a corporation is when we can create a tax savings. And because you only work part-time, you're right on the borderline. I might be able to create a little bit of savings tax-wise, but then you also have the cost of the corporation. You have to form it. That has a cost. You have filing fees every year. Your tax work goes way up because now you have to do payroll. So you're probably going to have to pay somebody to do payroll. You're going to have to do a corporate tax return at the end of the year, plus your personal tax return. So that's a new cost. So by the time we cover all the cost with this little bit of savings, we about broke even, and why bother?
Okay.
Now, if you were clearly making 75 or 80,000 a year consistently, then it would probably make sense. Like I say, you're right on the borderline, and I probably wouldn't bother.
Okay. Yeah, I'm happy with what I make because I enjoy my life on the road.
Then stick with what you're doing. Right. And I don't see a corporation being any big benefit for you.
Okay, right on. Okay, cool. So yeah, when I talk to other owner operators, they just freak out and they're like, "How the hell are you even in business?" Because I don't know a lot of stuff, but I know how to get the most out of my fuel. The way I drive, and I'm getting better and better.
That's a big one.
I'm talking just getting off cruise control every time I go uphill, accelerating when I'm going downhill. Without. So I'm really good at that, and I'm getting my fuel mileage up.
Excellent.
So
stay focused. Stay focused on your operation, keeping your costs down. Stay focused on the fact that you've created this cool little business that pays your bills and you're happy and you get to live a life you like. Stay focused on that. Don't worry about the corporation.
Okay, I will. Cool. So, I guess that's all I have.
All right.
I'll talk next time about other good stuff.
There you go. I'll look forward to it. All right, we're going to wrap this up. Boy, the shows have been going long lately. I'm not complaining. We will see you back here tomorrow for the Power Hour. Be safe, be profitable, be fit and healthy. Always do the hard work and master the journey.